Chapter 166. Everyone else left tactfully, leaving Yunfei and Hualan under the lush tree. There were some things that they had to talk about face to face. It's been more than 10 years since the chaos at Otagnathi's base. The flower people have been migrating for so long. Do you have a goal in mind? Xiaoling Yu asked as they walked around. We didn't have a goal in the first few years. We just wanted to stay away from Otagnathi's base. However, we found a good place a few years ago. Although it's far away and our entire clan's movement is slow, we still decided to go there for the sake of our long-term plan. There's a powerful clan there. However, that clan is called the Wood Spirit Clan, which is similar to us flower people. They don't have any schemes or ambitions. Their cultivation path is also to get close to and understand the laws of nature. I believe they'll take us in, Hua Wuhan replied calmly. It'll be a long journey. What if you encounter any clan that wants to harm you? What will you do? Xiaoling Yu asked with concern. We flower people have been in the Langhuang continent for countless years and have friendly relations with various clans. We've been living peacefully for the first 10 years. I believe that there won't be any problems in the next few years. Moreover, the clans that aren't very powerful won't dare to keep us. The closer we are to the Wood Spirit Clan, the safer we'll be. Usually, there won't be any powerful clans near where the powerful clans gather. Also, the powerful clans have been busy with the key to Yuehua Prefecture sky recently. They won't have time to care about us, Hua Wushuang said confidently. That's good, Xiaoling Yu nodded in response. Yunfei and Hualan didn't talk for too long. Everyone understood the whole story. Hualan had used Yunfei for the sake of the Flower Spirit Clan and even said something against her will. However, Yunfei loved Hualan too much. After pretending to warn her not to do it again, the two of them hugged each other tightly and let bygones be bygones. Hua Wuhan and Xiaoling Yu were also very happy about this. While they were migrating to the Wood Spirit Clan, they immediately held their wedding ceremony. Unexpectedly, Yunfei and Hualan both attracted heavenly tribulations after their first dual cultivation. Yunfei's heavenly tribulation was just an ordinary heavenly tribulation. Its power was not very strong. At the very least, it was far weaker than Xiaoling Yu's chaos heavenly tribulation. Even so, Yunfei only managed to survive the seventh wave of heavenly tribulation before losing all resistance to it. Under normal circumstances, Yunfei would have been annihilated by the heavenly tribulation. His cultivation from the spirit severing stage to the tribulation passing stage was too short, so his realm was not stable. Xiaoling Yu naturally couldn't watch his sworn brother die. Under him, there were 2 8th tribulation Wood Spirits. The strength of the entire Wood Spirit Clan was at least twice that of Otagnathi. Mu Qiu was also very hospitable. When he was free to take care of the flower people, he invited them to enjoy the good wine they brewed and exchanged some cultivation experiences with them. Xiaoling Yu and Yunfei benefited a lot. One day, Xiaoling Yu suddenly remembered the strange illusory spirit grass. She took it out and said to Mu Qiu, Clan Leader Mu, I got this illusory spirit grass by chance, but I couldn't see through it. I wonder if Clan Leader Mu could give me some advice. After seeing the illusory spirit grass, Mu Qiu frowned slightly. He carefully observed it for a long time before saying, there should be something unusual about it, right? There is a very strange thing about it. It can automatically devour illusory spirit. During the devouring, it will constantly grow in size, but it will not be long before it returns to its original state, Xiaoling Yu answered truthfully. It already has spirituality, but it hasn't developed spiritual awareness. If it wasn't for the mutation, it should have developed consciousness. The mutation made its quality higher, but it also made it more difficult for it to develop consciousness. If it can develop consciousness, it will definitely be a very powerful Wood Spirit. Its future will be limitless. If it is used in medicine, it won't have any good effects. Its material has already mutated, so it is no longer a good medicinal material, Mu Qiu explained patiently. With the accumulation and inheritance of the Wood Spirit Clan over the years, there must be a way to make it develop consciousness early, right? Xiaoling Yu asked. There are many ways, but not many are suitable for it, and the success rate is not very high. If Xiao Dao you want to make it develop consciousness early, I am naturally willing to help. After all, after it develops consciousness, it will be considered a member of the Wood Spirit clan, Mu Qiu said with a smile. Xiaoling Yu thought about it. This mutated illusory spirit grass was too strange. He didn't feel safe carrying it with him. Moreover, its use for Xiaoling Yu was limited to when Xiaoling Yu encountered countless illusory spirits. Even if he lost it, it would not be a big loss to Xiaoling Yu. Therefore, he nodded and said, "Then I will have to trouble you, clan leader Mu. Xiao Dao Yu, come with me." Mu Qiu led Xiaoling Yu all the way to the depths of the Wood Spirit clan's residence. After walking for the time it took to drink a cup of tea, Mu Qiu stopped in front of a decayed tree root. This tree root looked lifeless, as if it had been dead for many years. However, the trees around it were abnormally lush. Before they arrived, Xiaoling Yu clearly felt many thoughts sweep past him and Mu Qiu. Those thoughts should have come from the Wood Spirit clan's experts who were guarding nearby. Although the tree root was decaying, it was very large. It had a diameter of no less than 10 feet and a height of no less than 20 feet. Mu Qiu and Xiaoling Yu flew up a little. When they looked down, they could see that there was a pool of green liquid in the tree root. There were also seeds that had sprouted and unsprouted. This ancient tree has existed since ancient times and is the source of our Wood Spirit clan. Although the ancient tree can no longer withstand the erosion of time and has declined, it has always been able to absorb the Wood Spirit energy on the continent and gather it here to form a very pure energy that can accelerate the process of wood-type life forms developing consciousness. Even the most ordinary wood-type life forms can develop consciousness within a month if we throw them in here. However, this spiritual liquid is not limitless. Furthermore, it is extremely useful for the cultivation of our Wood Spirit clan's elite disciples. Therefore, it cannot be wasted. Generally, only when we find extremely good seeds will we throw them in for nurturing and cultivation. Mu Qiu explained to Xiaoling Yu as he pointed at the slightly rippling green liquid. If that's the case, let's change the method. Don't waste too much of your clan's precious resources. Xiaoling Yu said very sincerely. It doesn't matter. Not to mention a mutated spirit herb, even if a real immoral herb fell into it, it wouldn't consume much spiritual liquid. Since this old man has brought you here, I won't be stingy with this spiritual liquid. Using this spiritual liquid is the best way to succeed. If it still fails, please don't blame me. Mu Qiu said very politely. It would be impolite to refuse. Xiaoling Yu nodded and then handed the mutated illusory spirit herb to Mu Qiu. Mu Qiu did not do anything and directly threw the illusory spirit herb into the green liquid. In the green liquid, the illusory spirit herb was as quiet as usual. It will take some time for this spiritual herb to develop consciousness. We don't have to wait here. Let's go back and continue to enjoy the wine. Mu Qiu said and then landed and returned to his residence with Xiaoling Yu. However, only 3 days later, an elder of the Wood Spirit clan came to report in a panic that something had happened to the ancient tree. Mu Qiu hurriedly brought Xiaoling Yu to check it out. It would have been better if he did not see it. Once he saw it, Mu Qiu was shocked because the illusory spirit herb had grown by more than 100 times and the green spiritual liquid in the roots had decreased by half. Half of the spiritual liquid here could nurture at least 1,000 wood spirits with good aptitudes. Mu Qiu found it hard to believe that the illusory spirit herb had absorbed it in just 3 days. What made Mu Qiu even more depressed was that even though half of the spiritual liquid had been consumed, the illusory spirit herb still did not develop consciousness and continued to absorb the spiritual liquid. Chapter 167. Xiaoling Yu was also very surprised. He knew that the illusory spirit grass had a huge appetite. After all, it had swallowed countless illusory spirits in the illusory nebula. The current situation was that if they took out the illusory spirit grass, half of the spiritual liquid would be wasted. If they did not take it out, it would probably swallow all of the spiritual liquid. Mu Qiu did not know what to do. The calm elders of the Wood Spirit clan also looked gloomy. Since Mu Qiu did not make a decision at this time, Xiao Lingyu naturally did not take the initiative to speak. Although he felt a little guilty toward the Wood Spirit clan, he was more curious about how the illusory spirit grass would change in the end. Just as everyone was watching in horror and feeling conflicted, illusory spirits appeared on the body of the mutated illusory spirit grass. Those illusory spirits cried out in pain and tried to break free. Unfortunately, those illusory spirits seemed to be trapped in a swamp or tied up by a fairy rope. No matter how hard they struggled, they could not break free. Gradually, they were pulled into the body of the illusory spirit grass. No wonder. Mu Qiu squinted and suddenly said, "Clan leader Mu, did you find anything?" Xiao Lingyu asked curiously. This illusory spirit grass has absorbed countless illusory spirits. Previously, it only digested the energy of the illusory spirits but did not digest their consciousness. This time, it can use our spiritual liquid to refine the spiritual energy of those illusory spirits and erase their consciousness. Since it has swallowed so many illusory spirits, it naturally needs a large amount of spiritual liquid to help it complete the process, Mu Qiu explained. I see. Xiao Lingyu nodded calmly, but he was a little surprised. Among the illusory spirits that the illusory spirit grass had swallowed, there were many existences whose strength was comparable to the fifth or sixth tribulation. If all the spiritual energy of those illusory spirits were refined, the illusory spirit grass would definitely have a terrifying strength once it developed consciousness. This illusory spirit grass is too strange. It is not a good kind. If it develops consciousness, I'm afraid it will bring disaster to the world, Mu Qiu said as he felt the evil aura in the illusory spirit grass. After living in the Lich mystic realm for so many years, how could the illusory spirit grass not have an evil aura? What do you mean, clan leader Mu? Xiao Lingyu then asked. The evil aura in its body is deeply rooted and can't be eliminated. If it really develops consciousness, it must be controlled and restrained, Mu replied. How? Xiao Lingyu asked. It's very simple, make it recognize its master. As long as its master is a person's it's Mu's. Xiao Lingyu heaved a sigh of relief. Wasn't he a righteous person? Mu, an illusory spirit grass. When it has just had it, when it has just developed, it's when. And it's illusory spirit grass. And a lost spirit spiritual, and even when it has was. When it. Mu clan leader understands the wood spirits very well. You should have a solution to this problem, right? Xiao Lingyu asked. There's only one way, and that is to control the process of it developing consciousness before it develops consciousness. During that process, a cultivator's soul imprint will be left on it, Mu Qiu said calmly. It should already have the power of its soul and it should be very strong. It should be very difficult to control. It might even be dangerous, Xiao Lingyu said worriedly. Yes, so if anyone wants to control it, they must have a very high soul realm. Otherwise, they will be courting death. Mu Qiu nodded. Xiao Lingyu muttered to himself. He really didn't want to give up on such a powerful wood spirit. But if he had to take such a risk, he couldn't help but wonder if it was worth it. He wasn't very confident in the realm of his soul. It was obvious that if Xiao Lingyu did not dare to do it, Mu Qiu would. Otherwise, Mu Qiu would not be able to answer to his tribe. Xiao Daoyu, time waits for no one. If you hesitate any longer, it will be difficult to control the illusory spirit grass once it develops consciousness. It was nurtured in the depths of our tribe. If it is evil, our tribe will be the first to bear the brunt. We will suffer great losses. Please make a decision as soon as possible. After a while, Mu Qiu urged. The illusory spirit grass belonged to Xiao Lingyu. Even if the wood spirit clan used a large amount of spiritual liquid, Mu Qiu was too embarrassed to say that he would try to control it first. All right. Fellow wood spirit clan members, please protect me. I will control it. Xiao Lingyu steeled his heart and made up his mind to do it himself. He had been through all kinds of hardships and obstacles in his path of cultivation, but he was still alive. He did not think that controlling the illusionary spirit grass would be more dangerous than transcending the chaos heavenly tribulation. Xiaoling Yu took a step forward and floated in the air. His soul strength surged out and all of it went toward the mutated illusory spirit grass. The mutated illusory spirit grass had not developed consciousness, so it did not reject Xiaoling Yu's soul strength. However, as soon as Xiaoling Yu's soul strength entered the illusory spirit grass, he saw countless illusory spirits baring their fangs and brandishing their claws at him, as if they wanted to tear him to pieces. In order to control the process of the mutated illusory spirit grass gaining consciousness, Xiaoling Yu had to fill the entire body of the illusory spirit grass with his soul strength. However, the illusory spirit grass had not fully digested the souls and consciousnesses of countless illusory spirits, which put a lot of pressure on Xiaoling Yu's soul strength. Fortunately, Xiaoling Yu had reached the chaos convergence stage, and his soul had condensed into the golden soul pearl, which greatly improved the quality of his soul. These illusory spirits were also weakened because the illusory spirit grass had absorbed too much of the wood's spiritual liquid. Xiaoling Yu's soul strength continued to permeate the illusory spirit grass, but the speed was slightly slower. In the beginning, it was relatively smooth. Xiaoling Yu's soul strength only took an hour to fill the entire body of the illusory spirit grass. However, what he did not expect was that the consciousnesses and soul strength of the illusory spirits would all melt into his mind. Then, thousands of consciousnesses would appear in his mind at the same time. The experiences of these illusory spirits dazzled Xiaoling Yu. These consciousnesses and memories that did not originally belong to him all rushed into the depths of his soul, causing Xiaoling Yu's face to immediately turn pale. Cold sweat dripped down his forehead, and his head began to feel dizzy after a few minutes. This was the first obstacle. Xiaoling Yu had expected this, but he did not expect that there were still so many illusory spirit souls that had not been refined. With so many illusory spirit souls and consciousnesses charging into the depths of his soul, he could not withstand it at all, nor could he digest it in time. However, before Xiaoling Yu's consciousness could become muddled, the devil fetus opened its eyes again. Its two small hands began to move rapidly, and it began to chant a spell. As the devil fetus cast the spell, the consciousnesses and souls of the invading illusory spirits were all devoured by the devil fetus before they could enter Xiaoling Yu's golden soul pearl. Only the purest soul strength was left to replenish Xiaoling Yu's golden soul pearl. Xiaoling Yu's complexion gradually improved, and his head no longer felt dizzy. After slightly stabilizing his qi, blood, and soul, Xiaoling Yu began to actively control the illusory spirit grass to form a consciousness. This process was not very difficult, but Xiaoling Yu was very nervous and cautious. It took him a full 3 days to reach the final step. Just as the illusory spirit grass was about to form a consciousness, Xiaoling Yu left a wisp of his soul imprint on it. However, when the illusory spirit grass consciousness was formed, the soul strength of the illusory spirit grass suddenly shrank and chased after Xiaoling Yu's gradually retracted consciousness. It then attacked Xiaoling Yu's dantian. This illusory spirit grass must not want to be controlled, so before the recognition process was completed, it had to directly wipe out the soul of the cultivator who tried to make it recognize him as its master. This was the only way it could be free after gaining consciousness. Xiaoling Yu did not expect this. The illusory spirit grass's soul strength was very strong and very large. In terms of quantity and realm, it far exceeded his. He did not have any dharma treasures to protect his soul, so the situation was very dangerous for him. Unfortunately, his soul was controlled by the devil fetus, so he did not know how to resist. The devil fetus was very strange, but at this moment, he could not help but frown. He used all kinds of hand seals and incantations, but he could only resist for a moment. In order to free the illusory spirit grass, he kept increasing the strength of the soul strength of the illusory spirit grass. The devil fetus became more and more strained, and his gradually distorted expression of pain made Xiaoling Yu's heart ache a little. In the end, the devil fetus seemed to be forced out of its body and floated above Xiaoling Yu's head. The surrounding cultivators from the Wood Spirit Clan and Mu Qiu were very surprised. Why does Xiao Daoyu's nascent soul look like this? Mu Qiu wondered in confusion. After the devil fetus left its body, it let out a sharp howl and then resolutely pounced on the illusory spirit grass. It sank directly into the illusory spirit grass's body and found the illusory spirit grass's soul. It began to devour it without restraint. Xiaolingyu was stunned by this scene. He thought to himself that the devil fetus was not to be trifled with. The illusory spirit grass's soul had just been formed and its consciousness had just been born. It had not learned any Dharma spells, and its counterattack was just using its soul strength. It did not know how to deal with the devil fetus attack and could only let the devil fetus devour its soul. However, the illusory spirit grass's soul strength was very high and its soul strength was very strong. Although the devil fetus could devour it, it might not be able to refine it. After all, it was still controlling Xiaolingyu's golden soul pearl. Chapter 168. The demon fetus still fell into Xiaolingyu's dantian. Then, his small hands kept moving and his mouth kept chanting strange and mysterious incantations. To Xiaolingyu, the demon fetus was more important than the chaotic nascent soul. If something happened to the demon fetus, Xiaolingyu would not be able to live. Therefore, Xiaolingyu did not dare to move. He sat cross-legged in mid-air. Time passed by slowly. 1 day, 2 days passed. Xiaolingyu didn't get up. 1 month, 2 months passed. He was still sitting cross-legged in front of the roots of the ancient tree. 1 year, 2 years passed by in a flash. He was like an old monk in meditation. Fortunately, this was the Wood Spirit Clan's forbidden area. There were many Wood Spirit Clan experts keeping an eye on Xiaolingyu, so he wasn't disturbed at all. And in a secret chamber in the depths of the Black Blood Demon sect's encampment, the daughter of the demon sect, who had been cultivating in seclusion, was extremely busy during this period of time. She sat cross-legged with her eyes closed, her mouth constantly chanting incantations. On her forehead that was as smooth as jade, sparkling and translucent beads of sweat seeped out. After a full 5 years, the devil fetus finally stopped its hand seals and incantations, and Xiaolingyu was finally able to end his seclusion. Princess Mononoke wiped the sweat off her forehead in her secret room. She could not help but spit softly. "Tui! What is that guy doing? How could he make the demon fetus so unstable? It almost collapsed and killed both his and my lives. If not for my telepathy with the demon fetus, the consequences would have been unthinkable." Xiaolingyu did not feel that it was very dangerous. After all, he did not know anything about the demon fetus. He only knew that he had survived and was secretly glad. Xiaolingyu could feel that his soul realm had only improved a little. He guessed that the soul power of the illusionary spirit grass had not been refined into the golden soul bead by the demon fetus. He guessed that the demon fetus had either swallowed it or turned it into an independent soul under the control of the demon fetus. Seeing that the illusory spirit grass had not died, Xiaolingyu was sure that the demon fetus had controlled the illusory spirit grass's soul and not devoured it. As for the soul imprint that Xiaolingyu had left in the illusory spirit grass's soul, he guessed that it no longer existed. This was because he could not feel any connection between himself and the illusory spirit grass. However, the illusory spirit grass's soul was controlled by the demon fetus, so it had no choice but to stay with Xiaolingyu. And could not touch Xiaolingyu. Because of the demon's existence, Xiaolingyu and Princess Mononoke's life and death. But now, there was the illusory spirit grass. The demon's demon fetus. Xiao was princess. Princess Monoke to die. Xiao princess. Because of the demon fetus. Lingyu's and because. The demonic illusory spirit grass had stopped absorbing the spiritual liquid from the roots, but it had not returned to its original size. After the demon fetus stopped all actions, the illusory spirit grass's body turned illusory and then turned into a young girl in a red silk dress. There was a dark red 3-leafed grass emblem between her eyebrows, which made her look beautiful and charming. The young girl was tall and slender. Her skin was fair and rosy, and she exuded a fragrant aura. Her cheeks were slightly thin, and her chin was sharp. Her mouth was like a peach, and she had black hair that hung down to her waist like a waterfall. When she opened her beautiful eyes, There was a bit of confusion in her clear eyes, and it really made Xiaolingyu's heart tremble. "Who am I?" the girl muttered after a long while. Xiaolingyu frowned slightly, not knowing how to answer. Mu Qiu flew closer and said, "You are you. You are the illusory spirit grass's human form, and this is your master." Mu Qiu did not know that Xiaolingyu had not made the illusory spirit grass recognize him as its master. "Master?" The girl frowned and tilted her head to look at Xiaolingyu. She said, "No wonder I feel that my soul is in his body. I already have a master." Xiaolingyu still did not know what to say. "This servant greets master." The girl had just formed her soul and consciousness, so her judgment and thinking ability were very poor. She would naturally believe whatever others said. Xiaolingyu's mind turned quickly, then he smiled and said, "There is no need to be so restrained. I am a very casual person. You can call me young master in the future. There is no need to call yourself a servant. If I don't call myself a servant, what should I call myself?" the girl asked. "By the way, you don't have a name yet." Xiaolingyu nodded, then after thinking for a while, he said, "You will be called Linger in the future." "Linger thanks young master for the name," the girl calmly replied, then silently stood behind Xiaolingyu. "Congratulations, Xiao Daoyu. You have another strong disciple," Mu Qiu said with a fist salute. Xiaolingyu took out a few jade boxes and said politely, "Thank you for protecting me this time. I can't thank you enough. Here are a few immoral items. I spent a lot of effort to find them during my travels. Now, I'm giving them to the Wood Spirit Clan as a token of my gratitude." Mu Qiu originally wanted to refuse, but when he remembered that the illusory spirit grass had absorbed most of the spiritual liquid, he forced himself to accept it. After that, Xiaolingyu stayed with the Wood Spirit Clan for a period of time, mainly to let Linger learn cultivation methods and techniques from the Wood Spirit Clan's experts. Mu Qiu was also very enthusiastic about him, so his days were very comfortable. Suddenly, one day, Xiaolingyu felt something vibrating in his storage magic treasure. He took it out and found that it was his communication spiritual pearl that had been very quiet all this time. He sank his consciousness into it and a look of joy appeared on his face. This message was sent by Anya, asking him to meet at the Cloud Mist building in South Chiu City. Xiaolingyu had stayed with the Wood Spirit Clan for too long, and now that he had a date with a beautiful woman, he naturally would not stay any longer. He immediately bid farewell to Mu Qiu. Mu Qiu naturally asked him to stay, but Xiaolingyu insisted on leaving, so he could not force him to stay. Gu Yunfei was not a newlywed either. He also insisted on leaving with Xiaolingyu, but his wife, Lan stayed behind. Xiaolingyu thought that he would have to at least wait until the trip to Yuehua Prefecture was over before he could have any free time. Gu Yunfei had always wanted to go to Yuehua Prefecture, so he brought Gu Yunfei along. As for his sister-in-law, Lan she was not very capable. He was afraid that it would be dangerous to bring her along, so it was better for her to stay with the flower people. If this trip went smoothly, Gu Yunfei would be able to return soon. Although Lan was a little reluctant, she did not say anything. She just kept pleading with Xiaolingyu to take good care of her husband. After bidding farewell, Xiaolingyu brought Gu Yunfei and Linger to South Chiu City. There were no large-scale cities of cultivation on the Langhuang continent. Although South Chiu City was very famous on the Langhuang continent, the entire city was only about 25 kilometers wide. After flying for 10 days, Xiaolingyu and the other two finally arrived at South Chiu City. Originally, Xiaolingyu wanted to go alone, but Gu Yunfei did not agree. He insisted on seeing his sister-in-law. Xiaolingyu had no choice but to let him come along. On the other hand, Linger was inexperienced and had a bad temper. Xiaolingyu was afraid that she would cause trouble in a place where there were many cultivators, so she could only bring her along to keep an eye on her. House Yunwu was a restaurant located in the center of South Chiu City. It was a 3-story building and was very famous in South Chiu City. It was also the best restaurant in South Chiu City. When they arrived in front of House Yunwu, they saw that the entire 3-story wooden restaurant was shrouded in fog. The restaurant itself was faintly discernible in the fog. Xiaoling Yu and the other two were very surprised. What they did not expect was that there was fog in the restaurant as well. Furthermore, the fog here could greatly restrict the waves of consciousness of cultivators. It could also hide the aura of cultivators. If they were not very close to the restaurant, they would not be able to sense the presence of other cultivators or hear other sounds. This design is very ingenious. I think many cultivators would be willing to come here to enjoy delicious food and talk about private matters. Xiaoling Yu praised in her heart. Sister-in-law, you really know how to choose a place. Yunfei said bluntly. Big brother, don't call her sister-in-law later. Xiaoling Yu reminded him. Brother, don't worry. Although I have a bad temper, I'm not unreasonable. When we get there later, I'll take care of the food and drink. I won't say a word. Yunfei patted his chest and promised. Dear guests, the first floor is full. Please follow me to the second floor. A receptionist came forward to greet them. We were invited here. A fellow cultivator called Anya should have already made a reservation. Xiaoling Yu replied with a smile. Please wait for a moment. I'll go to the counter to check. The receptionist soon turned back and said, Fairy Anya has made a reservation on the third floor. Please follow me. If the receptionist did not lead the way, Xiaoling Yu and the other two would have to spend a lot of effort to find the stairs. The higher they went, the thicker the fog. After reaching the third floor, if one's eyesight was slightly weaker, they would not be able to see anything even if someone was standing less than a foot away from them. Even a powerhouse at Xiaoling Yu's level could only see a few feet away if he used his full vision. The receptionist stopped at the door of a room on the third floor. Then, he gently knocked on the door and went downstairs alone. After a while, the door opened. Because the fog was too thick, Xiaoling Yu and the other two could not see clearly what was going on inside. They also did not see who opened the door. Xiaoling Yu did not directly enter the room. Instead, she thought to herself, is there a trap here? Why? Are the three of you only going to stand at the door today? A clear female voice sounded from the room. This was indeed Anya's voice. It was also the tone that Anya was used to speaking in. Since it's an old friend meeting, why do you have to be so secretive? Xiaoling Yu grumbled. Then, she took the lead and stepped into the room. She saw a red chair and sat down. Yunfei followed behind and sat down beside Xiaoling Yu. Linger, on the other hand, stood behind Xiaoling Yu with a calm expression. For some reason, Linger was very respectful to Xiaoling Yu, but her expression rarely changed. She was neither happy nor worried. It was as if nothing could make her feel the slightest bit of emotion. Xiaoling Yu called this the state of extreme calmness. Yunfei was very depressed in his heart. Originally, he wanted to see what his sister-in-law looked like. But now, even though they were sitting at the same table, he could only see a hazy white mist on the opposite side. The only thing he could see was his sworn brother beside him and half a table full of food and wine. Not only Yunfei, but Xiaoling Yu was also very depressed. Although he could see further than Yunfei, it was still very limited. He could barely see the table full of food and wine. However, he could not see Anya, who was sitting opposite him. We haven't seen each other for many years. You've improved tremendously. In the past, I could still kill you. Now, I'm afraid that even 10 of me would not be able to defeat you. Anya's voice came from the opposite side. My luck has always been good. Xiaoling Yu replied vaguely. Your luck is very good. However, wherever you go, there will be chaos. Anya continued. Chapter 169. Anya said, I have a question for you. Xiaoling Yu said generously, Go ahead, what is it? Anya continued, What is the purpose of your cultivation? Or do you have any goals or dreams? Xiaoling Yu frowned. When he was a university student on Earth, he hated talking about ideals and ambitions with others. He had always been an unambitious person. Generally, he would take one step at a time. At most, he would take 3 steps ahead. This was because he knew that most of the time, things did not go as he wished. Instead of wasting time on daydreaming, it was better to take every step in front of him seriously. To be honest, when I first started cultivating, I just wanted to have the capital to establish myself in the cultivation world so that I could live a little longer and find my lost friends and family. Now that I've traveled through the cultivation world, I've found a lot of old friends. My parents are most likely dead, so I don't have much to worry about right now. Xiaoling Yu pondered for a moment before replying sincerely. How do you plan to spend the rest of your life? Anya asked again. I will cultivate hard and strive to live a few more years. After all, no one wants to die. Apart from cultivation, I'll do some things that I want to do and can do. I'll make friends with people with similar personalities and try my best not to make life too boring. Xiaoling Yu replied. Gu Yunfei was puzzled by the conversation between Xiaoling Yu and Anya. He secretly thought that this couple was really not ordinary people. How could a date between lovers be so boring? If I give you a big business, a fortune that any cultivator in the cultivation world would be envious of, would you happily accept it and take good care of it? Anya asked again. I don't care and I don't lack worldly possessions. Not to mention that there is no such good thing waiting for me, even if there is, I don't want it. There is nothing in the world that can be taken for free. Besides, what I hate the most is scheming. I'm not good at business. Xiaoling Yu shook his head and said. So you only want to be an extraordinary cultivator and live a carefree life by yourself? Anya's tone seemed to carry some disappointment. Shouldn't that be the case? Xiaoling Yu asked in return. You said it yourself just now. You want to live a peaceful life, but the cultivation world and the immoral world in the future won't be peaceful and prosperous. Not everyone can live a relaxed and happy life. Without enough strength and background, how can it be easy to live a carefree life? You may feel that you are already very strong, but you are only one person after all. You can't take care of everything. There are many things that you want to do, or you can't do it by yourself. If you have an amazing background and countless masters who can work for you, wouldn't that be even better? You'll be able to do more things and enjoy more luxurious things, Anya said as if she was trying to persuade him. Xiaoling Yu was silent for a long time. Then, he asked, You should be in the Shuntian League, right? That's right. Anya replied calmly. She seemed to have expected that Xiaoling Yu would guess this. Are you trying to win me over on behalf of the Shuntian League? Xiaoling Yu asked again. I'm not speaking on behalf of the Shuntian League. I'm speaking on behalf of myself. Anya replied. Are you talking about the amazing background and countless masters in the Shuntian League? Xiaoling Yu continued to ask. Yes. Anya replied. Does that mean you can call the shots in the Shuntian League? Xiaoling Yu asked in surprise. Not now, but I have some say. What I said to you was just an if, Anya said. Since it's just an if, I won't say it. You should know that the Shuntian League seems to have some conflicts with me. On the Langcheng continent, I once injured your master Wu. Over here, your ninth tribulation master also tried to kill me. Xiaoling Yu said helplessly. Those are all misunderstandings. I can help you settle this. They won't try to kill you in the future. I've been in seclusion before, so I just found out about what you've done to them in recent years. They just want to get another key to Yuehua Prefecture. As for fifth uncle, he has already recovered from his injuries. However, I can't say anything about Tai Immoral Sect's first elder Gengjia. You have to deal with him yourself. Anya said. If it's just that old man alone, I'm not afraid. Xiaoling Yu said confidently. Don't underestimate the strength of a ninth tribulation master. They're not weak even in the immoral realm. Anya reminded kindly. Can we talk somewhere else? It's so awkward here. Xiaoling Yu said gloomily. What's wrong with talking here? Anya laughed and pretended to be confused. We can't see anything here. What's so good about it? Gu Yunfei couldn't help but mutter. So it's because of this. That's easy. We just have to disperse the fog," Anya said. A breeze swept through the room, and the fog in the room slowly dissipated. Xiaoling Yu clearly felt that there was a very hidden but very strong aura that disappeared along with the fog. After the fog dissipated, Xiaoling Yu and the other two saw Anya sitting opposite them. Anya was alone. However, Xiaoling Yu could guess that Anya wasn't the only one there. There should be another very strong expert, but that expert had already left. Anya was still the same as before. She was wearing a blue warrior's outfit and looked very heroic. Her immortal sword was still in its sheath and laid flat on the table in front of her. It was probably because she had dual cultivated with Xiaoling Yu once and had lost her virginity. Anya was no longer as cold as she used to be. Instead, there was always a subtle smile on her face, quiet and elegant. Xiaoling Yu was a little excited to see his lover again. However, when he saw Anya's smile, he quickly calmed down. "Who are these two?" Anya asked curiously. "This is my sworn brother, Yunfei. This is Linger," Xiaoling Yu introduced. "Miss Linger is so beautiful. Why don't you take a seat?" Anya first praised, then asked. In terms of appearance, Linger was definitely not inferior to Anya. In terms of strength, Linger was probably much stronger than Anya. When they were at the Wood Spirit Clan's encampment, Xiaoling Yu had sparred with Linger a few times. Even though Linger had only just started cultivating, her comprehension skills were very shocking. In the beginning, she was not Xiaoling Yu's match, but in a short time, she was able to fight Xiaoling Yu to a standstill. After a few more days, Xiaoling Yu would have to use all kinds of treasures to fight Linger. If Linger was given more time, her strength would definitely surpass Xiaoling Yu and reach the peak of the cultivation world. "Come, Linger, sit down." Xiaoling Yu waved her hand and said. Linger did not answer Anya. After hearing Xiaoling Yu's order, she immediately sat down expressionlessly. Then, she looked at Anya very calmly. There was no strange emotion in her eyes, as if she was looking at air. There seemed to be nothing more to say. Anya began to invite everyone to enjoy the food. When Xiaoling Yu saw the crystal hairpin on Anya's head, she felt relieved and ate and drank very smoothly. The crystal hairpin was a token of love that Xiaoling Yu had left for Anya before they parted. Although she had said it in a joking tone, the fact that Anya was still wearing it was enough to prove that Anya still missed Xiaoling Yu. After they finished eating, Yunfei tactfully brought Linger out. They said that they were going to walk around South Chiu City, but in reality, they wanted to give Xiaoling Yu and Anya some time alone. "What's your relationship with Linger?" Not long after Yunfei and Linger left, Anya asked. Her instincts told her that the girl who was as beautiful as her had a close relationship with Xiaoling Yu. "Why, are you jealous or worried about something?" Xiaoling Yu asked with a smile. "Don't be so cheeky. Answer my question honestly." Anya looked like she was about to explode. She's an illusionary spirit herb that had obtained an opportunity to materialize. She's not a human girl. Xiaoling Yu replied. "Nonsense, I can tell that." Anya replied in annoyance. "Oh? You can tell?" Xiaoling Yu obviously did not believe her. Anya was not weak, but that was only because she was highly skilled in swordsmanship. It was not because of her good eyesight or spiritual state. If it were not for those special reasons, even Xiaoling Yu could not see through Linger. How could Anya see through her? Anya's eyes flickered a few times when she was stared at by Xiaoling Yu, and then she said, "That's not the point. The point is, why is she following you all the time? Moreover, you're so obedient to her. She even looked back every few steps when she left. Look at you, you're jealous." Xiaoling Yu laughed. He knew that Anya could not see through Linger. That master must have told her about it after seeing through her. That illusionary spirit herb already recognized me as its master before it gained consciousness. That's why it's so respectful to me. Besides, she was just born not long ago, so she's like a child. It's inevitable that she relies on me. Xiaoling Yu explained. He knew that once a woman got jealous, even 8 dragons wouldn't be able to pull her back. "I'm warning you, don't you dare have any thoughts about other women. Otherwise, no matter how strong you are, I have my ways to deal with you. Besides, you said that you would marry me as long as I'm willing. Now, I can tell you that I can marry you, but you have to prepare a decent betrothal gift. The elders in my family have very high standards. They won't be interested in ordinary treasures. Anya said fiercely. When Shaolin Yu heard this, he was quite happy in his heart, but he said gloomily, "Sai, how can you be so vulgar? We are all successful cultivators, how can we care about those worldly things, and we shouldn't use those worldly things to measure our feelings. Stop it. I've been out for a long time. I don't have time to listen to your nonsense. I'll go back first. When you feel that you have enough betrothal gifts, send me a message. I'll tell you where to go to propose." Chapter 170. The Langjing continent should have the most beautiful scenery among all the cultivation continents in the astral sea of chaos. The mountains and rivers here were magnificent, and the scenery was ever-changing. There were lakes that were embedded in the ground like pearls, and there was also a boundless sea of flowers. Even the sky was often filled with all kinds of vivid clouds. Not only was the scenery beautiful, but the concentration of spirit chi here was also relatively high. There were even many places that were relatively rich in immortal spiritual energy. Therefore, many powerhouses of various races who had traversed the astral sea of chaos stayed here for a long time. It was said that in ancient times, before the realms were separated, the Langjing continent was the most prosperous cultivation continent in the cultivation world. Countless powerhouses lived and cultivated here, opening up many magical cave abodes that had been preserved to this day. Many of the ancient cave abodes were discovered by cultivators of various races in the following years, and the treasures left behind by the ancient powerhouses were taken away. However, there were still many places that had not been discovered, or that had been discovered but no one had the strength to search for treasures. These places still attracted the powerhouses of the cultivation world to this day. Among the treasures left behind by the ancient powerhouses that had been discovered, the Yuehua Prefecture sky was the most attractive. However, the cultivators who knew of the Yuehua Prefecture sky's existence were all powerhouses of the cultivation world. Ordinary cultivators did not have the right to know about this. The Yuehua Prefecture sky had been discovered a long time ago. Unfortunately, although the restriction gate had been exposed in front of everyone, no cultivator had been able to open it. The reason why the powerhouses of the cultivation world were so concerned about the Yuehua Prefecture sky was not because they knew that there were many treasures hidden there, but because the Yuehua Prefecture sky could be opened. The other treasures had either not been discovered, or no one knew how to open it, nor did they have the ability to open it. Opening the restriction gate of the Yuehua Prefecture sky did not require martial strength. This was because with the current level of the cultivators of the cultivation world, even if they had a divine weapon, it would be difficult to blast open the gate. They could only collect the key to the gate of the Yuehua Prefecture sky. Everyone had always known about the existence of the key to the Yuehua Prefecture sky. However, there was not only one key, but many of them. Only by collecting all of them could the restriction on the gate automatically retract. In order to collect all the keys to the Yuehua Prefecture sky, countless cultivators and forces of various sizes had worked hard for many years. Generation after generation of powerhouses had painstakingly worked for countless years. Now, all the keys of the Yuehua Prefecture sky finally had owners, and all of them were true powerhouses of the cultivation world or important figures of a large force. After all, the keys of the Yuehua Prefecture sky would be taken away by others even if they had a weak cultivation or background. Without the ability to protect the key, one would not be qualified to enter the Yuehua Prefecture sky. The cultivation world had always been this cruel and realistic. The Yuehua Prefecture sky was located in a very famous place on the Langjing continent. It was called the Misty Maple Ridge. The entire mountain was covered in maple trees that were no more than 3 meters tall. When the maple trees swayed in the wind, the fiery red maple leaves would release a fiery red mist. That was how the Misty Maple Ridge got its name. The Misty Maple Ridge was a beautiful place with pleasant scenery. The entire mountain range was vast. There were also several large high-grade ore veins intersecting here, causing the spiritual chi here to be very dense. A cultivator once said that cultivating in the Misty Maple Ridge for a year was equivalent to cultivating in other places for 10 years. However, the Misty Maple Ridge had always been jointly occupied by many 7th and 8th Tribulation powerhouses. They did not allow any cultivators below the 6th Tribulation to open up a cave abode and live there for a long time. They also did not allow any force to monopolize the Misty Maple Ridge. The Yuehua Prefecture sky was hidden in a waterfall in the depths of the Misty Maple Ridge. The waterfall was about 100,000 meters wide and 80,000 meters tall. Because it was located in the depths of the Misty Maple Ridge, the color of the waterfall tended to be fiery red. From afar, it looked like it was formed by flowing lava. The Misty Maple Ridge was usually relatively quiet. There were no demon beasts or savage beasts here. Even if there were, they would have been killed long ago. However, recently, the Misty Maple Ridge was not very peaceful. One could often see figures with overbearing auras flying into the ridge. One could also often hear the rumbling sounds of fighting coming from inside. Many cultivators who stayed in the periphery of the Misty Maple Ridge all year round had guessed that the Yuehua Prefecture sky was about to open. The opening of the Yuehua Mansion sky was definitely a big event for the entire cultivation world. Of course, this was only for the experts in the cultivation world. Therefore, many experts gathered here. Many of them were enemies, and once they met, they would immediately start fighting. The 7th Tribulation and 8th Tribulation powerhouses who originally ruled the Misty Maple Ridge could be restrained at first. However, as more and more powerhouses entered the Misty Maple Ridge, even 9th Tribulation powerhouses came in the end. They turned a blind eye to those fights. Xiaoling Yu had already arrived at the Langjing continent, but he did not go to the Misty Maple Ridge. This was because he heard that the Grand Elder of the Tai Immortal sect, Gengjia, was in the Misty Maple Ridge. Before entering the Yuehua Prefecture sky, Xiaoling Yu did not want to cause any more trouble. It was not that he was afraid of Gengjia, but he felt that there was no need to fight so early. After all, he did not have the intention or motive to kill or injure Gengjia. Xiaoling Yu and Anya met once at the Cloud Mist Tower in the South Hill city of the Langhuang continent. Then, he directly brought Gu Yunfei and Linger through the starry sky to the Langjing continent and met up with the Wind Howler clan. There is no problem in opening the gate to the Yuehua Prefecture sky. However, no more than 100 cultivators can enter at a time. The quota of less than 100 is naturally divided according to the number of keys. I have calculated that there are only 7 quotas for each key, the Wind Howler clan's 8th Tribulation powerhouse said to Xiaoling Yu. There was a hint of worry in his voice. Xiaoling Yu knew what the Wind Howler clan's powerhouse was worried about. The Wind Howler clan could only compete with a 9th Tribulation powerhouse when they gathered together. However, it was impossible for so many of their people to enter the Yuehua Prefecture sky. In other words, they no longer had the ability to compete with a 9th Tribulation powerhouse after entering the Yuehua Prefecture sky. The Wind Howler clan's strongest powerhouse was an 8th Tribulation powerhouse, and there was only one of them. However, they had a powerful combination of combat skills that had been passed down since ancient times. Even now, they could still fight a 9th Tribulation powerhouse for a long time and trap 2 9th Tribulation powerhouses for as long as a cup of tea. However, if there were only a few Wind Howlers together, they would only be invincible under the 9th Tribulation. They wouldn't be able to face a 9th Tribulation powerhouse directly. However, there would be more than one 9th Tribulation powerhouse entering the Yuehua Prefecture sky this time. If they weren't as strong as a 9th Tribulation powerhouse, it would be difficult to maximize their benefits after entering the Yuehua Prefecture sky. Xiaoling Yu also frowned because of this. Our Wind Howler clan has always been alone and we don't have many friends. Is it possible for Xiao Daoyu to invite some powerhouses to help? The Wind Howler clan's powerhouse asked. Xiaoling Yu thought for a bit and said, I can invite some, but your Wind Howler tribe will have to give up a few spots. It doesn't matter. The key is that we need to be strong enough to compete for the treasures and have the ability to leave safely. Otherwise, even if we take all 7 quotas, it will be pointless if we can't leave after entering. The Wind Howler clan's 8th Tribulation powerhouse said calmly. If that's the case, I will try to contact them. After Xiaoling Yu nodded, he took out his communication spiritual pearl and sent out a series of messages. 2 years later, the temple master of the Sky Fire Hall, Yan Dong, arrived. Half a year later, the temple master of the Water Spirit Hall, Shui Qingru, also arrived at the Langjing continent. Xiaoling Yu, Gu Yunfei, Ling Er, Yan Dong, and Shui Qingru already took up 5 quotas. The Wind Howler clan only needed to give up 2 quotas. In Xiaoling Yu's opinion, this lineup was already very strong. Although Yan Dong wasn't a 9th Tribulation powerhouse, his strength increased greatly after refining the Purple Heavenly Fire. His Purple Heavenly Fire was something that ordinary immortal tools and magic treasures couldn't resist. It was also a threat to 9th Tribulation powerhouses. Although Shui Qingru was still a 7th Tribulation powerhouse, she had a supreme grade immortal tool Water Spirit treasure. Even if she couldn't deal with a 9th Tribulation powerhouse, she could easily deal with an 8th Tribulation powerhouse who didn't have a supreme grade immortal tool. As for Ling Er, when she was in a normal state, she could fight to a draw with Xiaoling Yu who used all kinds of magic treasures. When she was in a good state, even Xiaoling Yu wasn't her opponent. She should be able to hold off a 9th Tribulation powerhouse for a while. Apart from Gu Yunfei's slightly weaker strength, which was the weakness of the entire team, this team would not be in too much danger unless they were besieged by 2 or more 9th Tribulation powerhouses. After everyone was ready, Xiaoling Yu and the others went to Misty Maple Ridge. While waiting, the other experts who had keys kept urging them. If they delayed any longer, they might provoke the dissatisfaction of those experts. If things went wrong, they might even be besieged. Although the other wind howling powerhouses didn't have a quota, they still escorted them all the way to the waterfall in Misty Maple Ridge. This was to deter the 9th Tribulation powerhouses from attacking before they entered Yuehua Prefecture sky. When Tai Immortal Sect's Grand Elder Gengjia saw Xiaoling Yu, he only frowned slightly. Although he was still thinking about Xiaoling Yu's divine sword and magic treasures, he didn't dare to attack. Not only was he afraid of the wind howling powerhouse's strength, he was also worried that he would attract the dissatisfaction of the other powerhouses. After all, Yuehua Prefecture sky was about to open. No one wanted anything to happen to the cultivators who had the keys. Alright, everyone is here. I've said what I wanted to say countless times. Let's not delay any longer. Everyone, check if everyone is here and go to the entrance together. After an old man wrapped in a black robe said impatiently, he brought the cultivators beside him and took the lead to fly towards the waterfall. After passing through the fiery red curtain of water that flew straight down, they disappeared. Immediately, many powerhouses led their own teams and flew to the waterfall. Tai Immortal Sect's Grand Elder Gengjia glanced at Xiaoling Yu meaningfully before he left. After showing a cold smile, he also jumped and left. Xiaoling Yu's group of cultivators was the last to move. After passing through the water curtain of the waterfall, they arrived at a cave that was obviously man-made. Then, they slowly walked into the depths of the cave. After walking for about 10,000 feet, they reached the end of the cave. Xiaoling Yu was able to see the gate of Yuehua Prefecture sky for the first time. The gate was about 10 feet tall and 20 feet wide. It looked like it was made of white jade, but it was wrapped in dense silver restriction lines. Chapter 171. Xiaoling Yu had a way to enter the depths of Yuehua Prefecture heaven without going through the restriction gate, but that method required a lot of preparation. Moreover, it was very dangerous along the way. Since there was a safe path now, he naturally wouldn't waste his energy. Everyone, please take out your keys. The black-robed old man said as he took out a fiery red jade bracelet. On the stone plaque above the restriction gate, there was a row of circular grooves. The black-robed old man waved his hand and inserted the fiery red jade bracelet in his hand into one of the grooves. Then, a few different colored jade bracelets were taken out by the cultivators and inserted into the grooves. Gu Yunfei handed his bone-white jade bracelet to Xiaoling Yu, and Xiaoling Yu inserted it into the last groove. Just as the Wind Howler powerhouse said, all the cultivators who took out the jade bracelets were human powerhouses. However, most of these human powerhouses were cultivators from other races. Let's begin. Everyone should know the corresponding incantation and seal for each key. After the old man in a black robe said another sentence, he began to chant and make gestures on his own. Xiaoling Yu had already obtained the incantation and seal for activating the bone-white jade bracelet from the Wind Howler powerhouse. Seeing that the other cultivators were taking action, Xiaoling Yu naturally couldn't stand by and watch. As the human powerhouses cast their spells, the jade bracelets in the grooves began to glow. The originally silent stone plaque also began to tremble slightly, and it projected a multicolored light toward the restriction light gate. The multicolored light flowed around the restriction light gate, causing the restriction lines on it to gradually disappear like snow melting in the spring. This lasted for nearly 10 days before the restriction lines on the gate completely disappeared. However, the gate was still tightly shut. All the human cultivators who were casting their spells stopped at the same time. Then, the black-robed old man took a step forward and pressed his palms on a gate. With a soft shout, the gate creaked open with a bang. As soon as the gate opened, a dense immortal spiritual energy gushed out from it, causing all the loose immortals present to feel refreshed and comfortable. They had never felt such a pure immortal spiritual energy baptism. Everyone, once inside, everyone will rely on their own abilities. However, this old man still has to advise everyone to restrain themselves and try not to have any conflicts. It's better to focus on resisting the dangers inside together. After the black-robed old man said that, he led his team to take the lead and pass through the gate. "Who is that black-robed man?" Xiaoling Yu asked as he waited for the other teams to move first. "Ha, Xiao Dao, you actually don't recognize him. He's the great elder of the black blood demon. He's called Li Yu, a ninth tribulation expert. It's said that among the known ninth tribulation experts in the cultivation world, he's the strongest. His heaven-covering demonic banner is very powerful." Yen Dong replied with a smile. Although Li Yu's abilities are great, his reputation isn't very good. He likes to rob everywhere. Killing people for treasures is a trivial matter to him. However, this person has always been conceited. Many places that other cultivators don't dare to go, he often dares to rush in. Shui Qingru added. Li Yu is indeed very powerful. Back then, he came to challenge our Wind Howling clan. Under the cover of his heaven-covering demonic banner, our clan's battle formation almost lost its effectiveness. The Wind Howling clan's 8th tribulation expert also said. It's said that Li Yu was severely injured when he was traveling outside. I didn't expect him to recover so quickly. Furthermore, he gives off a feeling that his abilities are far stronger than before. I wonder if he had some kind of encounter. Yen Dong continued. Actually, other than the heaven-covering demonic banner, the black blood demon's black blood demonic seal is also very powerful. However, the reason why Li Yu can be ranked first among the ninth tribulation experts is because he subdued a demonic dragon. That demonic dragon is a mutated divine beast that mutated from a real dragon. Its abilities are also very powerful. As Xiaoling Yu and the others were talking, the other teams had already entered the Moonlight Mansion. Xiaoling Yu didn't ask any more questions and immediately led everyone through the open door. The reason why Xiaoling Yu asked about Li Yu was because Li Yu glanced at Xiaoling Yu previously. At that time, Li Yu's gaze was a little suspicious and surprised. Secondly, Xiaoling Yu felt that Li Yu was a little familiar. Especially when looking at Li Yu from afar, Xiaoling Yu felt that she had seen him before. Heaven-covering demonic banner, mutated demonic dragon, in an instant, an image appeared in Xiaoling Yu's mind. It was a figure in a black robe standing on the head of a black dragon with a long and wide black cloth in his hand. Could he be the cultivator who brought the end of the world to Earth? Back then, he was the one who used the demonic banner to cover the sun and commanded the demonic dragon to fight the fire phoenix? Xiaoling Yu was extremely shocked. It must be him. After thinking quickly, Xiaoling Yu narrowed her eyes. Only an expert who was already standing at the peak of the cultivation world could create such an earth-shattering power. Thinking about how many of her relatives and even her parents should have died during the end of the world, Xiaoling Yu's expression immediately darkened. If it wasn't for this old man, why would I come to the cultivation world? If it wasn't for this old man, why would my benevolent parents pass away so early? If it wasn't for this old man, Xiaoman wouldn't have married someone else. Thinking of this, the hatred in Xiaoling Yu's heart rose spontaneously, and she clenched her teeth so hard that they creaked. If her parents really died during the end of the world, then basically, this Liu was Xiaoling Yu's enemy who killed her parents. Although it was because Liu brought the end of the world to Earth that Xiaoling Yu had the opportunity to come to the cultivation world, have the opportunity to come in contact with cultivators, and become a powerful cultivator, he wouldn't be grateful to Liu because of this. If she had a choice, Xiaoling Yu would rather she was still a university student on Earth. Her parents gave birth to her and raised her, but she didn't even graduate from university. Naturally, she didn't have the time to be filial to her parents. This would make any hot-blooded man feel resentful. The most helpless thing in the world was. The tree wants to be still, but the wind doesn't stop blowing. The child wants to be filial, but his parents are no longer around. Xiao Daoyu, is there something wrong? Perhaps because she saw that Xiaoling Yu's expression was strange, and her aura was a little chaotic, Yan Dong asked. Gu Yunfei, who was the closest to Xiaoling Yu, was very nervous when entering a place like Yuehua Prefecture Sky because her strength was slightly lower. She kept looking around and didn't notice Xiaoling Yu. Ling noticed, but she wasn't used to taking the initiative to show concern for Xiaoling Yu. Xiaoling Yu quickly recovered and said, "No, I just suddenly thought of something in the past." Behind the door was a stretch of void. Looking into the distance, one could see a piece of land floating in the void, emitting a hazy radiance. The continent was definitely not small, and one couldn't see the end of it. Above the continent, there was a round moon that looked like a silver plate. The full moon was very bright, and it continuously spread its white moonlight to every corner of the continent. The teams that came in earlier all flew towards the floating continent. Anyone could see that the treasures hidden in Yuehua Prefecture Sky were all on that continent. Let's go over too. Xiaoling Yu also flew towards that continent, and along the way, she didn't forget to remind everyone, be careful. There are many hidden immortal restrictions and immortal formations on that continent. If there's no need, don't touch them. Also, when you reach the continent, don't go into a small house that's all alone, and don't try to open it. Only those small courtyards surrounded by walls or fences might have treasures, and it's not too dangerous. You must remember, try not to go into buildings with more than 3 floors. Even if you go in, don't go above the 2nd floor. If you see small animals or plants that can run and are very fast, don't chase after them. They will bring you into a powerful immortal formation. Some places have a large flag at the entrance. Before entering these places, you have to turn the flagpole 9 times. Xiao Daoyu, you've been here before? Yan Dong asked in surprise after Xiaoling Yu stopped talking. No, Xiaoling Yu replied, I learned about it after reading a book left behind from ancient times. With Xiao Daoyu's guidance, we can save a lot of trouble and danger, Yan Dong said with a big laugh. As long as everyone listens to me and doesn't act rashly, I promise that I won't let anyone fall into a dangerous situation. However, if those experts who came with us attack us, then I can't guarantee everyone's safety, Xiaoling Yu said with a smile. Soon, everyone arrived on the continent. Xiaoling Yu didn't deliberately stay too far away from the other teams, because in the area covered by the moonlight, the cultivators' consciousness couldn't penetrate their bodies at all. It was the same even for 9th Tribulation experts. Not only could their consciousness not penetrate their bodies, but it was also very exhausting for their bodies to even fly. The bright moon on this continent was the array core of a very powerful sky restriction and soul binding array. Under the effect of the sky restriction array, it was as if the gravity on this continent had been increased by hundreds of millions of times, causing people's feet to be unable to leave the ground. They couldn't even walk quickly on the ground. The soul binding array digested all the soul power released by the cultivators into nothingness. Cultivators could release their soul power, but before it formed a consciousness, it would lose that portion of soul power before it could spread far. the existence of these two arrays also created a lot of pressure for the cultivators who came to search for treasures. Their strength was limited, so naturally, it was more dangerous. When Jiang Lanyue was traveling in the cultivation world, she came here before. Following the instructions she left behind, Xiaoling Yu led her team to the place where the large number of immortal stones were gathered unhurriedly. Xiaoling Yu came here because of the large number of immortal stones here. However, immortal stones weren't the most precious thing in Moonlight Prefecture sky. Chapter 172. Under Xiaoling Yu's guidance, they didn't encounter too much danger along the way. However, they had a bountiful harvest. They obtained 6 low-grade immortal weapons, 3 mid-grade immortal weapons, and even 1 high-grade immortal weapon. Xiaoling Yu didn't take the immortal weapons. Instead, he let everyone take the weapons according to their attributes. Since they already knew the route, Xiaoling Yu's group quickly arrived at the place where the immortal stones were gathered. The place where the immortal stones were gathered wasn't the most important place in the Yuehua Prefecture sky. There were only immortal stones and no Dharma treasures. On the continent of the Yuehua Prefecture sky, there were many places with large amounts of immortal weapons and spells. There were even divine weapons and spells. Those places were in Xiaoling Yu's memory. However, Xiaoling Yu didn't take them there first because those places were all very dangerous. Even the place where the immortal stones were gathered wasn't a good place. Xiao Daoyu, this iron tower's aura is restrained and ancient, but it's also like a sleeping beast. It gives people a feeling that they don't dare to approach it. Moreover, this iron tower is a 6-story building. According to your previous warning, it's best if we don't enter this lonely iron tower. Yan Tong kindly reminded Xiaoling Yu when he saw him standing at the entrance of the iron tower and rubbing his chin as if he was thinking about something. Xiaoling Yu had indeed said that on the continent of the Yuehua Prefecture sky, buildings with more than 2 stories were very dangerous places. They shouldn't be entered carelessly. We must enter this place. There are large amounts of immortal stones here. It's my main goal. Xiaoling Yu shook his head with a smile. Large amounts of immortal stones? The other cultivators' expressions changed slightly. However, they didn't ask how Xiaoling Yu knew. If that's the case, then we can go in and take a look, said the Wind Howler expert. After we enter, once we touch the immortal stones inside, this rusty iron tower will emit immortal light that soars into the sky, attracting many experts. At that time, it's hard to say whether or not most of the immortal stones will fall into our pockets. Xiaoling Yu said worriedly. The reason why he stood in front of the iron tower for so long was not because it was difficult to enter the iron tower, but because of this concern. Hearing Xiaoling Yu's words, everyone's expression turned serious. From the moment we enter this iron tower, I'm afraid that we'll have to fight to obtain benefits. I hope everyone is prepared. After Xiaoling Yu gave her instructions, she stretched out her hands and grabbed the 2 iron rings on the iron tower's door. Then, she forcefully pulled them outward. Xiaoling Yu pulled out the metal hoop. Then, she heard creaking sounds coming from the heavy and tightly shut metal door. The door slowly opened, and a strong wave of immortal spiritual energy rushed out. Through the gap in the door, everyone was surprised to see that the first floor of the iron tower behind the door was filled with immortal stones that shone faintly. From the outside, the first floor of the iron tower looked like it was only 100 feet long and wide. However, when they went inside, they realized that the first floor of the iron tower was no less than 10,000 feet long and wide. Moreover, it was completely occupied by immortal stones. These are all low-grade immortal stones. Although there are a lot of them, no less than 10 million, it's not a shocking amount of wealth, Xiaoling Yu said as she began to put the immortal stones into her storage Dharma treasure with the others. They were all people with extraordinary cultivation, so they were very fast at putting the immortal stones into their storage Dharma treasures. In less than 10 minutes, all the low-grade immortal stones on the first floor of the iron tower were taken. It was just as Xiaoling Yu had said. After they just moved the first immortal stone on the first level, the iron pagoda started to tremble slightly, and the tip of the pagoda ceaselessly emanated numerous immortal lights that shot into the sky. Its impetus seemed to be vast, and it caused the other groups that were originally searching for treasures to look over with surprise before rushing over with tacit understanding. Unfortunately, even if you were a ninth tribulation expert, you couldn't move quickly on the continent of Yuehua Prefecture sky. The second floor should be filled with middle-grade immortal stones. Although there aren't as many as the low-grade immortal stones on the first floor, their value is much higher than the first floor. Right now, the other teams should be closing in on us. We don't have much time. There's no danger on the first and second floors. Let's go to the second floor first and try to collect all the middle-grade immortal stones on the second floor before they arrive. After saying that, Xiaolingyu walked up the stairs and led everyone to the second floor. The second floor was indeed filled with middle-grade immortal stones. However, it was much smaller than the first floor. There were only about 500,000 middle-grade immortal stones, but the total value was 5 times that of the first floor. After Xiaolingyu and the others collected all the middle-grade immortal stones on the second floor, a team had already entered the Iron Tower. They searched the first floor to no avail, so they went up to the second floor. When they came up, they happened to see Xiaolingyu and the others collecting the last pile of middle-grade immortal stones. "Ha, you're too late," Xiaolingyu said with a laugh. "Not too late, not too late. This Iron Tower has 6 floors. There must be more immortal stones on the higher floors, and their value is even higher." Therefore, they did not directly go to the 4th floor. Instead, they searched the misty space on the 3rd floor. Chapter 173. After all, the puppets in the Iron Tower were not living creatures, nor did they have high consciousness. Their fighting style was very mechanical, and they were not equipped with any powerful magic treasures, so their strength was very limited. An ordinary 9 tribulations expert should be able to easily deal with a 9 tribulations puppeteer. With the help of a powerful magic treasure, he could even kill it. If 2 9 tribulations puppets attacked together, they could only delay a 9 tribulations expert for a while. Only when 3 9 tribulations puppets joined forces could they fight a 9 tribulations expert to a draw. If magic treasures were not taken into consideration, they could even suppress a 9 tribulations expert. However, which 9 tribulations expert did not have a few powerful magic treasures? Therefore, these puppets could only cause some trouble for the 9 tribulations experts, but could not bring much danger to them. The supreme grade immortal stones on the 4th floor were also stored in the boxes. There were only 3 boxes, but they were all made of high-quality black iron. Even if a supreme grade immortal weapon was used to bombard them, it would still take some time to blast them open. Xiaolingyu originally wanted to wait for Liu, Bingjia, and other experts to defeat the puppets on the 4th floor. However, the stairs were about to disappear, so he did not dawdle any longer. After reaching the 4th floor, Xiaolingyu first felt that the light was a little dim, and then he found that the devil qi was surging all around. At this moment, a demonic banner covered the entire 4th floor like a canopy. A demonic dragon covered in countless black scales was also roaring as it fought with 3 9 tribulations puppets. As for the owner of the demonic banner and the demonic dragon, Liu, he was already floating beside a black iron box. He was constantly making seals to bombard it. Every time he struck, the box would shake violently. The other 2 black iron boxes were being watched by Gingjia and the Shuntian League 9 tribulations expert respectively. There were also 3 9 tribulations puppets beside each of them. Gingjia and the 9 tribulations experts of the Shuntian League seemed to be much weaker than Liu in terms of strength. At this time, Liu could basically ignore the 3 puppets of the 9 tribulations and concentrate on bombarding the black iron box. However, the 2 9 tribulations experts could only deal with the 3 puppets of the 9 tribulations while bombarding the black iron box they were holding. The 3 black iron chests already had owners. After Xiaolingyu and the other experts entered, although no powerful puppets came to attack them, there were no black iron chests for them to open. For a cultivator like Xiaolingyu who wielded a divine artifact, opening the black iron chest was definitely a piece of cake. However, the 3 9th tribulation experts probably wouldn't give him the chance to get close to the black iron chest. However, peak grade immortal stones were also very important to Shaolin Yu. He had to snatch at least one box of peak grade immortal stones. Liu's strength was too strong. Although Shaolin Yu hated him a little, he didn't dare to provoke him easily. Although the Shuntian League 9 Tribulations experts had some conflicts with Shaolin Yu, with Anya's relationship, Shaolin Yu didn't want to offend the Shuntian League. Therefore, Shaolin Yu could only set his sights on Tai Immortal Sect's first elder, Gengjia. Gengjia's relationship with Shaolin Yu was also very bad. He had always wanted to kill Shaolin Yu, so Shaolin Yu didn't need to be polite with him at all. After having a target, Shaolin Yu said a few words to linger beside him and also transmitted a message to Yen Tong. Then, Shaolin Yu flew out and went straight for the black iron box that Gengjia was holding. "You came at the right time." Gengjia snorted coldly. He waved his hand and shot out a large ray of light that gathered towards Shaolin Yu. At this moment, a wave of strange cold and a wave of scorching heat surged out from Shaolin Yu's left and right. They were like two dragons that pounced towards the ray of light. The strange cold and the wave of fire first intertwined. Then, their power increased greatly and scattered the ray of light that was shot out by the 9 Tribulations expert. Before Gengjia could attack again, Linger and Yen Tong had already charged over with Shaolin Yu. Gengjia still had to face the attacks of the 3 9 Tribulations puppets, so he was basically powerless to stop Shaolin Yu. The silver moon broken blade slashed the black iron box 7 or 8 times before it was split open. The supreme great immortal stones inside were all collected by Shaolin Yu in an instant. Shaolin Yu then flew back. Gengjia was so angry that he was about to go berserk. He actually took the attacks of the 3 9 Tribulations puppets head-on. He shot out 2 rays of light to blast Linger and Yen Tong away. Then, he flashed to Shaolin Yu's side. Although Shaolin Yu's speed was fast, it couldn't be compared to a real 9 Tribulations expert. Therefore, it could only use the 6 demon-suppressing immortal orbs to form a line and attack. Unable to lock onto the opponent, Shaolin Yu's attack couldn't land. Gengjia's body flashed a few times and dodged all the attacks of the 6 demon-suppressing immortal orbs. At this time, Yen Tong and Linger also returned to Shaolin Yu's side. The 3 9 Tribulations puppets blocked Gengjia again. The 9 Tribulations puppets' intelligence wasn't high. Previously, they only judged who was their opponent by sensing the fluctuation of aura on everyone's body. As a 9 Tribulations expert, Gengjia's aura was naturally much stronger than Shaolin Yu and the others. Therefore, the 3 9 Tribulations puppets kept attacking him and wouldn't shift their target to others. The experts on Shaolin Yu's side combined together, in addition to the Serpent Devourer of Heaven and the Ice Soul Heavenly Silkworm, were not weaker than a real 9 Tribulations expert. With the obstruction of the 3 9 Tribulations puppets, Gengjia knew that he couldn't kill Shaolin Yu here. Therefore, after trying once and failing to achieve a breakthrough, he retreated angrily. Gengjia, who retreated, didn't give up the fight for the Supreme Great Immortal Stone. He also didn't dare to provoke Liu. Therefore, he rushed to the side of the Shuntian League's 9 Tribulations expert. "Brother Gengjia, your box was stolen. Do you want to be enemies with me?" The Shuntian League's 9 Tribulations expert was also dealing with the 3 9 Tribulations puppets. However, he was about to blast open the black iron box he was guarding. Therefore, he asked angrily, "Ha, Brother Sun, you're wrong. Before we came here, we already said that everyone will fight for the treasure based on their own abilities. No one wants to be enemies with anyone," Gengjia replied with a laugh. "Humph. Do you think you can snatch the immortal stone from me? I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you." The Shuntian League's 9 Tribulations expert waved his arm, and a golden chain flew out like a long dragon. Then, in an instant, it tied the 3 9 Tribulations puppets together. The 3 9 Tribulations puppets struggled together, causing the golden chain to creak. However, the quality of the golden chain was extremely high. It wasn't a problem for it to trap the 3 9 Tribulations puppets for a while. It was originally one of the Shuntian League's trump cards. Now that the situation was special, he could only use this trump card first. After freeing himself, the Shuntian League's 9 Tribulations expert could face Gingjia with all his strength. However, Gingjia still had 3 9 Tribulations puppets to deal with. Therefore, after some consideration, Gingjia had no choice but to retreat. The Shuntian League's 9 Tribulations expert then broke open the black iron box and took away the supreme grade immortal stone inside. On the other side, Liu also used the cover of the demonic dragon and the sky-covering demonic banner to break open the box and obtain a sum of supreme grade immortal stones. Ginjia's face was as ugly as it could be. Before coming to this iron tower, he had some gains, but they were not worth mentioning. Ordinary immortal weapons were not very useful to him. The 3 black iron boxes were all opened, and a golden staircase appeared on the 4th floor. If the 4th floor already contained supreme grade immortal stones, then what would the 5th floor contain? Except for Shaolin Yu, no one knew what was on the 5th floor, but everyone knew that there must be danger on the 5th floor. The 9 Tribulations expert from the Shuntian League once again threw out the golden chain. The rest of the experts formed a circle, trapping the 2 golden puppets in it. Shaolin Yu knew that this was an opportunity, so he did not continue to watch. In a flash, he arrived beside the lone purple gold box. Then, he swung the silver moon-broken saber in his hand and fiercely slashed down. After only 3 slashes, cracks had already appeared on the purple gold box. However, the 2 golden puppets relied on the incomparably fierce attacks of their sabers to rush out of the encirclement. Shaolin Yu immediately attacked with 6 demon-suppressing immortal orbs, and then he very sensibly retreated. The attack of the 6 demon-suppressing immortal orbs did not pose any threat to the 2 golden puppets. However, it slowed down their speed of rotation, allowing Shaolin Yu to safely leave the purple gold box. Liu and the other experts surrounded the box again. The 2 golden puppets that were originally going to kill Shaolin Yu had no choice but to stay and continue to guard the purple gold box that was about to crack open. Shaolin Yu's attack was effective, which filled everyone with hope. They followed Shaolin Yu's instructions and continued to attack the purple gold box while surrounding the 2 golden puppets. Although the golden puppets were very powerful, they were still puppets after all. They were not very smart and were once again lured away. However, the 2 puppets that were lured away this time seemed to be on the verge of going berserk. Every time the sabers in their hands slashed out, there would be thousands of sharp saber rays. Even Liu did not dare to block them and could only retreat again and again. Some of the weaker cultivators, because they dodged a little slower and did not have any immortal weapons to protect them, were directly slashed at the waist by the saber rays. Their nascent souls and primordial spirits were instantly destroyed. Since entering the metal tower, everyone suffered casualties for the first time under the protection of the 9 Tribulations experts. Moreover, the casualties were still increasing. Almost every moment, there were cultivators dying under the countless saber rays. Shaolin Yu flashed to the side of the purple gold box again. After 3 more slashes, the purple gold box still did not crack open, and the 2 puppets that were almost unscathed charged back. Shaolin Yu had no choice but to use the demon-suppressing immortal orb to block them and escape again. In fact, Shaolin Yu could have split the purple gold box open after these 2 slashes, but he had a selfish motive, so he deliberately held back some strength. The purpose was to let the 2 golden puppets perform for a while longer so that they could cause more damage to the other teams and the 3 9 Tribulations experts. At the very least, they could deplete more of their strength. Chapter 175. In short, the dangers in these secret chambers were different, and the opportunities obtained were also different. However, there were very few cultivators who could truly resolve the dangers in the secret chambers and obtain great benefits. This was because the dangers in the secret chambers were something that even 9th Tribulation experts had to deal with carefully. Shaolin Yu had no choice but to bring everyone up. If they didn't come up, they wouldn't be able to leave. The only outcome was to wait for death. Coming up and fighting was the only choice. Shaolin Yu was only worried about Gu Yunfei. Although his sworn brother had successfully passed the tribulation and given the only high-grade immortal artifact from the Yuehua Prefecture sky to Gu Yunfei under Shaolin Yu's care, Gu Yunfei's strength was still not higher than a 5th tribulation expert. Xiaoling Yu didn't have much time to worry about others. The puppet whose strength was comparable to a 9th tribulation expert had already pounced on him. Xiaoling Yu had seen such a puppet in the previous levels. Although he had never fought with it, Xiaoling Yu was very familiar with it. He knew that its strength was actually still a little weaker than a true 9th tribulation expert. Therefore, Xiaoling Yu didn't panic. The 6 demon-suppressing immortal pearls flew out together to attack while he rapidly formed the primal chaos seal. The serpent devourer of heaven and the icy soul heavenly silkworm also continuously spat out waves of scorching heat waves and strange cold aura. The two intertwined and could greatly restrain the puppet. Xiaoling Yu's own strength was actually a little weaker than that of this puppet. However, if his fairy weapons and pets were taken into account, he would be much stronger. After all, that puppet was not a 9 tribulations expert with a flexible mind and a strong sense of combat. Even so, Xiaoling Yu could only be in a deadlock with the puppet. It was very difficult for him to kill it. However, the puppet suddenly stopped after persisting for nearly 3 days. It stopped moving. Xiaoling Yu found it strange at first. He thought that the puppet was playing tricks, so he didn't dare to approach it. Instead, he continued to attack it. However, after attacking it for a while, he realized that the puppet was still motionless. Only then did he realize that the puppet's energy had been depleted. After stopping the attack, Xiaoling Yu used the 6 demon-suppressing immortal orbs to firmly seal the puppet, and then began to search for his own opportunities in this secret room. Not long after, Xiaoling Yu found a jade slip and sank her consciousness into it. Xiaoling Yu's expression lit up. What was inscribed on the jade slip was a method to refine puppets. It was very advanced and detailed. Xiaoling Yu also knew that if the cultivators entered the secret chamber and encountered a puppet, then the benefits they obtained would be related to the puppet. If they encountered an immortal array, then the benefits they obtained would be related to the array. If they encountered an immortal beast, then they would probably obtain the method to tame and control immortal beasts. After skimming through it, Xiaoling Yu glanced at the puppet that was sealed by the 6 demon-suppressing immortal orbs in the secret chamber. This puppet was similar to many of the puppets in the Iron Tower. The reason why it didn't seem to be very powerful was because it didn't have a master to control it. It fought purely out of instinct. If it had a powerful master to control and command it, then the strength it could unleash would be terrifying. The puppet refinement technique that Xiaoling Yu had obtained was known as the Divine Puppet Technique. Not only did it contain the technique to refine puppets using special materials, it also contained the technique to directly refine the bodies of other cultivators into puppets. If one could fully comprehend the technique and possess sufficient strength, refining a divine tier puppet would not be an issue. Not to mention cultivators in the cultivation world, but even to cultivators in the immoral world, this divine puppet technique was an extremely precious method. After obtaining the divine puppet technique, Xiaoling Yu saw a very mysterious incantation carved on one of the walls of the secret chamber. As long as the incantation was activated, it would form a one-time use teleportation restriction. With this restriction, one would be able to leave the Iron Tower. That puppet no longer had any energy to support it, so it had completely lost its ability to fight and resist. Xiaoling Yu easily put it into his storage magic treasure, then poured his power into the incantation on the wall. After a few moments, his body disappeared from the secret chamber. After a series of dizzying teleportation, Xiaoling Yu appeared in a cave. The cave was very bright, so bright that it was a little blinding. This was because there was a floating pearl that constantly emitted white light. Xiaoling Yu first used the demon-suppressing immortal orb to approach the pearl. Unexpectedly, the demon-suppressing immortal orb, which was a top-grade immortal tool, was unable to get close to the pearl. Then, Xiaoling Yu tried to fly over, but he was still unable to get close to the pearl. He could only spin around a meter away from the pearl. The silver moon-broken blade was too short, and the silver needle was too short. Xiaoling Yu thought for a moment, then took out the merciless divine sword from the sword sheath. The merciless divine sword was long enough to touch the pearl, but what Xiaoling Yu didn't expect was that as soon as the merciless divine sword touched the pearl suddenly shone with a strong light. Then, Xiaoling Yu felt his body begin to spin again. After his body stabilized, Xiaoling Yu was shocked to find that he had already left the Moonlight Mansion and arrived at the misty Maple Ridge. His body was wrapped in a white light, making him unable to move at all. After the time it took to drink a cup of tea, Linger also came out of the Moonlight Mansion. His body was also wrapped in white light as he stood beside Xiaoling Yu. After an hour, Yin Dong also came out. His situation was no different from Xiaoling Yu and Linger. After a while, the 8th Tribulation powerhouse of the Wind Howling clan also came out, followed by Shui Qingru and Liu, followed by Gingjia and the 9th Tribulation powerhouse of the Shuntian League. No matter who it was, when they came out, they were all wrapped in white light and couldn't move. Everyone stared at each other. The experts who hadn't entered the Yuehua Prefecture sky all rushed over, perhaps because they sensed that something was wrong. However, no one dared to get too close. They didn't know what was going on with the top experts of the cultivation world. What made Xiaoling Yu extremely worried was that a full 20 hours had passed, and Gu Yunfei still hadn't come out of the Moonlight Mansion. Just as the white light on Xiaoling Yu's body began to dissipate, the entire misty Maple Ridge began to tremble violently. Rays of dazzling white light shot into the sky, allowing all the cultivators of the Langjing continent to see. The earth shook for half an hour. To everyone's astonishment, a round moon that was constantly radiating white light slowly rose from the misty Maple Ridge until it was high up in the sky. The light it cast down covered a total area of nearly 1/3 of the entire Langjing continent with the misty Maple Ridge as the center. Under the white moonlight, the spatial pressure increased by more than 10,000 times. All the cultivators felt as if there was an extra mountain on their shoulders. Everyone's soul power was completely confined within their bodies. As soon as it was released, it would dissipate into nothingness. What made everyone even more surprised was that there was actually a figure in the full moon. The full moon floated in the sky for an hour before it began to fall to the ground. As it fell, the size of the full moon was constantly shrinking. As the full moon shrank, the figure naturally grew larger. By the time everyone could clearly see who the figure was, the full moon had already turned into a pearl that was held in the cultivator's palm. When the cultivator stood on the ground, the moonlight that covered a large area completely disappeared. Everyone also regained their freedom. "Big brother!" Xiaoling Yu walked over to the cultivator and hugged him. This was because the cultivator was none other than Gu Yunfei, who hadn't left the Yuehua Prefecture for a long time. Xiaoling Yu didn't expect that the most powerful treasure of the Yuehua Prefecture, the full moon, would be taken away by his sworn brother, Gu Yunfei. Xiaoling Yu had already thought of this. The last pearl he saw in the cave was the full moon. Any cultivator who could activate the teleportation restriction on the 6th floor of the Iron Tower would be directly teleported to the cave. Then, it would depend on who was lucky enough to obtain the pearl. It was a complete accident, Gu Yunfei said with a wry smile. At the same time, the white light that enveloped the experts all disappeared. Everyone regained their freedom. Xiaoling Yu's original team gathered together again. The dozens of experts from the Wind Howling clan who didn't enter the Yuehua Prefecture also gathered around. "Everyone, this kid took all the immortal crystals and completely forgot about our previous agreement." Gingjia pointed at Xiaoling Yu and said angrily, "Fellow Taoist, we've already agreed that we'll delay the 2 golden puppets while you open the purple gold box. We'll split the benefits equally." "Fellow Taoist, you've already agreed." Liu's eyes narrowed as he spoke to Xiaoling Yu. "Everyone, please don't misunderstand. The situation was special at that time, so I went up to the 6th floor first. Brother, don't split the immortal stones with them. I just got this pearl. It can imprison them for a while. We can just run away." Gu Yunfei transmitted his voice to Xiaoling Yu. Hearing this, Xiaoling Yu paused for a moment, and then continued with a smile. "However, those immortal stones are really useful to me. After everyone went up to the 6th floor, they obtained a lot of benefits, so don't bother with me about this little thing." "Humph. Do you think we are 3 years old? Those are not immortal stones, they are immortal crystals. If you want to take them all for yourself, don't blame us for being merciless." Gengjia snorted. Merciless? Ha, when have you ever been merciful to me? Xiaolingyu said with a strange smile. You are courting death. Liu shouted and the sky-covering demonic banner flew into the air. At this time, Gu Yunfei opened his palm, and the pearl immediately appeared. Then, white light shot out, directly imprisoning the 3 ninth tribulation experts. Brother, let's go quickly. I just got this pearl and there are many magical powers that I haven't figured out yet. After Gu Yunfei reminded him, Xiaolingyu and everyone quickly flew out of the Misty Maple Ridge. They didn't stop after flying out of the Misty Maple Ridge but continued to escape into the starry sky. We should have killed them all just now. Linger said to Xiaolingyu. Chapter 176. Big brother, how did you get that pearl? Xiaolingyu asked curiously. That's right, that's right. I used the heavenly fire as a cover and finally touched that pearl with great difficulty, but then I was teleported outside. Fellow Gu, you should have other opportunities, right? Yandong also asked after that. As they flew through the starry sky, they began to talk about the situation they encountered on the 6th floor of the Iron Tower. To talk about getting that pearl, I have to talk about the secret room I entered on the 6th floor. That secret room had a lot of powerful magic artifacts with spirituality. They could attack automatically. When I went in, I used the top-grade immoral artifact you gave me to block for a while. But that top-grade immoral artifact hadn't been refined for a long time so it couldn't unleash much power. Soon, I couldn't block it anymore. When Gu Yunfei said this, he looked like he still had lingering fear. He then continued, in my moment of despair, I put on my invisibility cloak with an attitude of giving it a try. I didn't expect that the invisibility cloak, which could only be seen through by a 6th tribulation expert, could also deceive the perception of those magic treasures. They immediately became obedient and stopped attacking me. I successfully walked to the wall engraved with the teleportation restriction and obtained a jade slip there. A very strange technique was engraved in the jade slip. The Imperial Treasure Art. What's so special about this Imperial Treasure Art? Shui Qingru asked. It's a technique that allows cultivators to quickly control magic artifacts. First, it can help cultivators sense the spirituality of magic artifacts. Second, it can use the technique to suppress the spirituality of magic artifacts. Third, it can speed up the refinement of magic artifacts. Fourth, it can help cultivators sense the location of magic artifacts with powerful spirituality. If the magic treasure is ownerless, you can use the Imperial Treasure Art to force the artifact spirit to recognize you as its owner. If the magic treasure has an owner, the Imperial Treasure Art also has a corresponding technique that can forcibly suppress or directly erase everything left behind by the original owner, and then forcibly recognize you as its owner, Gu Yunfei said with a little excitement. When the cultivators heard this, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. This Imperial Treasure Art was a bit heaven-defying. The magic artifacts in the secret room couldn't sense my existence so I wasn't in any danger. So I studied in the secret room for a while. After reading the Imperial Treasure Art, I practiced with the magic artifacts in the secret room. After taking 2 good magic artifacts, I activated the teleportation restriction and left. I didn't expect to see the pearl in the cave. My ability was weak so I couldn't get close to the pearl. First, I didn't know how to leave the cave. Moreover, we all obtained great benefits in the secret room on the 6th floor of the metal tower. As for the top-grade immortal stones and crystals, it was Xiao Daoyu who risked his life to obtain them. We didn't provide any help so there's no need to distribute them to us. Yan Dong shook his head and said. Yan Dong is right. For loose immortals like us, some high-grade immortal stones are enough for cultivation. There's not much use for top-grade immortal stones and crystals. If we're unlucky and can't pass the 9th tribulation, it'll be a waste no matter how many immortal stones and crystals there are. Shui Qingru added. Yan Dong and Shui Qingru were indebted to Xiaolingyu. Naturally, they wouldn't be greedy for Xiaolingyu's gains. As for Gu Yunfei and Linger, they were originally part of Xiaolingyu's family. They wouldn't mind who had the immortal stones and crystals. It's not that I'm greedy, but our Wind Howler race has a magic treasure that requires top-grade immortal stones or crystals to activate. Therefore, I can use my high-grade immortal stones to exchange for some top-grade immortal stones or crystals with fellow Daoist Chow. The Wind Howler race's 8th tribulation expert said. There's no need to exchange. I'll give you 20,000 top-grade immortal stones and 500 immortal crystals. Is that enough? Xiaoling Yu said generously. It's enough. Thank you, Xiao Daoyu. The expert replied with satisfaction. Xiaoling Yu immediately gave a storage bag to the Wind Howling race expert. He also gave one to Shui Qingru and Yan Dong. Even though they said they wouldn't accept it, Xiaoling Yu would definitely give it to them. Even though he had obtained the top-grade immortal stones and crystals by himself, he still didn't give it to them. Now that everything is done, our Wind Howler race still has other things to do. We'll take our leave now. After flying for a long time, they didn't see any 9th tribulation experts chasing after them. The expert bid farewell to Xiaoling Yu. Xiaoling Yu didn't have any reason to keep them here, so he let the Wind Howler clan's experts go. He felt it was a pity. After all, the Wind Howler clan's experts were comparable to the 9 tribulations. My Skyfire Hall also has many things to do. I can't leave for too long. I'll take my leave too. Yan Dong and Shui Qingru were both hall masters. Even though they didn't have much to do when they were on their own continents, if they left for a long time, things would come. Since the two of them left, Xiaoling Yu naturally couldn't keep them. Besides, Yan Dong and Shui Qingru weren't 9th tribulation experts. Xiaoling Yu didn't have any reason to keep them. Xiaoling Yu knew that the 3 9th tribulation experts wouldn't let him off easily. The 9th tribulation expert from the Shuntian League was still fine. If Anya was really someone with an extraordinary position in the Shuntian League, he might be able to help stop him from making things difficult for Xiaoling Yu. However, Tai Immortal Sect's Grand Elder Gingjia and the Black Blood Demon Liu had already listed Xiaoling Yu as a must-kill. Relying on external forces isn't a solution. I need to have enough strength to deter the 9th tribulation. Xiaoling Yu thought silently. Brother, where should we go now? Yunfei asked. Let's hide in the Langhuan continent first, Xiaoling Yu said after some thought. Langhuan continent? Yunfei frowned slightly and continued, the Langhuan continent is a place completely occupied by foreign tribes. It's said that there are 9th tribulation experts there, and there's more than one of them. The foreign tribes there have a close relationship with the demon race. They don't like us human experts going there. That's why I want to hide there first. The foreign tribes and demon race experts there don't like us. Similarly, they don't like Gingjia and Liu. If these 2 9th tribulation experts go there, they'll probably alarm the 9th tribulation or demon race experts in the Langhuan continent, Xiaoling Yu said with a smile. But what if we bump into the 9th tribulation or demon race experts? Yunfei asked worriedly. We're just going there to take refuge. As long as we're careful and keep a low profile, as long as we're not extremely unlucky, we won't bump into the 9th tribulation so easily. But if Liu and Gingjia chase us to the Langhuan continent, they'll definitely release their immortal and demonic senses in order to find me. It'll be very easy for them to be discovered by the experts on the Langhuan continent. 9th tribulation experts who want to kill and steal treasures usually don't keep a low profile, Xiaoling Yu said with a smirk. It took Xiaoling Yu and the others a full year to fly in the starry sky from the Langjing continent to the Langhuan continent. The Langhuan continent was the most dangerous place in the entire chaotic astral ocean. Of course, this was only for foreign human cultivators. Since ancient times, this place had been completely occupied by foreign tribes, and the foreign tribe experts had never allowed human experts to stay here for long. Therefore, the Langhuan continent had always been a scene of desolation. Everywhere was filled with an ancient and vicissitude aura, and there were no signs of it being sculpted or taken care of. Tall and steep mountain peaks, endless mountain ranges, barren deserts with flying sand and stones, long flowing rivers, fierce beasts galloping, birds spreading their wings and soaring. Chapter 177. The arrival of Xiaoling Yu and the others did not attract the attention of the foreign experts of the Nephrite continent. After entering the cave, they did not come out, nor did they walk around. Xiaoling Yu sat cross-legged in a secret room in the simple cave. Around him were piles of various immortal stones. He spread his arms and his palms constantly emitted a suction force, absorbing the immortal spiritual energy in the immortal stones into his body. Next to the chaotic nascent soul with 3 flowers above his head, an energy vortex was formed. Waves of high-grade chaotic energy were constantly released by the chaotic nascent soul and added to the energy vortex, gradually transforming the immortal spiritual energy in the vortex into high-grade chaotic energy. During the first 2 cycles of the 9-revolution chaos formula, Xiaoling Yu could rely on a large amount of spiritual energy to improve his skills. However, during the 3rd cycle of the chaotic convergence period, spiritual energy could no longer support the cultivation. Only immortal spiritual energy could support the cultivation. The reason why Xiaoling Yu took such a huge risk to go to Yuehua Prefecture to snatch the immortal stones was to speed up his cultivation during the chaotic convergence period so that his skills could improve faster. If he followed the normal cultivation method and meditated every day to absorb the thin chaotic energy between heaven and earth, just one chaotic convergence period alone would trap Xiaoling Yu for at least tens of thousands of years. Xiaoling Yu did not have the patience to waste time, even though the skills he obtained would be more stable and he would be able to use them as he wished. Yunfei was also meditating in the secret room. However, he did not cultivate his skills. Instead, he continued to study the art of imperial treasure while sacrificing the pearl. After staying in the cave for a while, Linger felt very bored and flew into the starry sky alone. For Linger, who was an illusory spirit herb, absorbing the energy in the immortal stones was not very useful to her. If she wanted to improve her skills quickly, she had to master powerful spells and familiarize herself with the various magical powers and magic treasures of the cultivation world. Secondly, she had to continue devouring illusory spirits. There were also phantom spirits on the continent, but unfortunately, they were very few in number, and their strength was generally very ordinary. Most of the powerful phantom spirits were in the hallucinatory nebula, so Linger flew into the starry sky to find the hallucinatory nebula. Xiaoling Yu had a lot of top-grade immortal stones and immortal crystals, so it was not difficult for him to improve his cultivation. But now, he could only quickly absorb the immortal spiritual energy in the middle and low-grade immortal stones, because his body could not withstand the impact of the large amount of immortal spiritual energy in the high-grade or higher-grade immortal stones. If Xiaoling Yu really wanted to quickly increase his cultivation, not only was his body's endurance a limitation, but his soul realm was also a problem. Without a strong enough soul realm, how could he control the energy in his body? In the cultivation world, there was a common sense that almost everyone knew, and that was that a cultivator's power level could not exceed their soul realm by too much. Otherwise, they would be unable to control their power and cause their body to explode. Therefore, not long after, Xiaoling Yu stopped increasing his power, and the amount of immortal stones he used was not even 1/10,000th of his collection of immortal stones. Then, Xiaoling Yu began to study the divine puppet art. If the divine puppet art was used properly, it could definitely greatly increase Xiaoling Yu's combat strength. 5 years passed quickly, and one day, Xiaoling Yu suddenly took out the puppet that had exhausted its energy. The puppet was quite tall, about 10 feet tall, and its body was made of special black iron, which made it look very mighty. Even if a middle-grade immortal weapon was used to attack it, it could only leave a white mark on its body. It could even block the attack of a high-grade immortal weapon a few times, and only a top-grade immortal weapon could really cause it great damage. Xiaoling Yu circled the puppet a few times, and then found a diamond-shaped iron plate on the puppet's back. He turned it once, and there was a crisp sound. Then, the iron plate moved down half a foot with a piece of black iron, revealing a fist-sized dark groove. This dark groove was used to fill energy crystals. As long as the energy crystals inside were not exhausted, the puppet could function normally. Of course, with the support of energy, it could only allow the black iron puppet to function automatically, and it could not display its full power. Generally speaking, for a black iron puppet with strength comparable to a ninth tribulation expert, a high-grade immortal stone could allow it to fight for an hour, and a top-grade immortal stone could allow it to fight for 100 times longer. Shaolin Yu directly filled the dark iron puppet with an immortal crystal, because not only could the immortal crystal extend the puppet's fighting time, it could also increase its combat strength. After all, the immortal spirit energy in the immortal crystal was of a much higher grade than ordinary immortal stones. After the immortal crystal was filled, the black iron plate on the puppet's back returned to its original position. Then, the black iron puppet stretched its arms and took a step forward. Providing energy to the puppet was only the first step. This did not allow Shaolin Yu to control it. However, the second step of controlling the puppet was actually very simple for Shaolin Yu, who had comprehended the divine puppet technique. He only needed to quickly form a seal, and then use the seal to wrap a wisp of his soul and insert it into the puppet's glabella. The black iron puppet, which was still trying to regain its freedom of movement, once again froze on the spot after Shaolin Yu's soul entered its brain. The secret room was too small for the black iron puppet to display its abilities, so Shaolin Yu brought it outside. Punch! Under Shaolin Yu's command, the black iron puppet punched a small mountain not far away. Instantly, an energy fist formed completely from pure immortal spirit energy flattened the small mountain, leaving a deep and wide gully along the way. The power of this punch is definitely not weaker than the full-force attack of a middle-grade immortal weapon. Shaolin Yu nodded in satisfaction, then shouted, "Move at full speed." The black iron puppet, which was moving at full speed, turned into shadows. Its heavy body appeared very light and agile. Its speed was slightly faster than Shaolin Yu's wings of extreme speed, but it seemed to be slightly slower than a real ninth tribulation expert. The black iron puppet's defense and attack power were not weak, but its speed was slightly slower. Primal Chaos Seal. Shaolin Yu controlled the black iron puppet to form a seal. However, this was only an attempt, and he did not expect to succeed. After all, the activation of the Primal Chaos Seal required the support of the power of Primal Chaos. What Shaolin Yu did not expect was that the black iron puppet could actually form a seal. However, it was not the Primal Chaos Seal. Although it also looked like a yin-yang fish, it was of the same color and looked very awkward. Blast it out. The black iron puppet suddenly pushed its arms out, aiming at a large mountain not far away. What surprised Shaolin Yu was that the strange monochromatic yin-yang fish actually flattened the mountain and continued to charge forward. It flattened 5 mountains in a row before its power was exhausted. How is this possible? This is much stronger than the real Primal Chaos Seal that I activated. Shaolin Yu exclaimed in surprise. Shaolin Yu called the black iron puppet back, and after a careful inspection, he discovered that the immortal crystal had used up 1/3 of its energy. It actually used up so much energy in one go. No wonder it's so powerful. Shaolin Yu understood. In the next few days, Shaolin Yu continued to train the black iron puppet. He only returned to the secret chamber when he was familiar with controlling it. After returning to the secret chamber, Shaolin Yu took out the golden skeleton and muttered, "If I can refine this golden skeleton into a puppet, it would be a good choice." However, refining a puppet requires a lot of special materials. It's not just a refining method. After thinking carefully, Shaolin Yu's eyes suddenly lit up. Don't I have the materials ready? I'll first dismantle the black iron puppet, then merge the golden skeleton into the puppet. When he thought up to this point, Shaolin Yu took out the dark iron puppet once more and started dismantling it. It was very easy to dismantle it, but the black iron puppet's structure was very complete. It was not easy for Shaolin Yu to add the golden skeleton into it. After studying for a long time, Shaolin Yu still could not find a reasonable way to add the golden skeleton into the puppet. What made him even more depressed was that it was difficult for him to reassemble the original black iron puppet. There were many parts of the black iron puppet that could not be touched, but Shaolin Yu had touched them. There were also some parts that could not be reassembled after being dismantled. Shaolin Yu had also dismantled it. Now that things have come to this, it seems that I can only refine it again. Xiaoling Yu was not too depressed. Now that he had all the materials, and he had the guidance of the divine puppet technique, it was not difficult to refine the black iron puppet again. If I want to refine it again, I have to do it thoroughly. His own primordial fire appeared in Xiaoling Yu's palm. After his primordial fire improved, the power of his primordial fire also increased significantly. Then, pieces of black iron were enveloped by the primordial fire and slowly melted. This went on for more than 10 years before Xiaoling Yu completely melted all the high-quality black iron into liquid. As for the golden skeleton, Xiaoling Yu's primordial fire could not smelt it at all. Even if he burned it for a few years, the golden skeleton would not change at all. Although Xiaoling Yu did not refine the golden skeleton, he drew some talisman patterns recorded in the divine puppet technique on it. Then, he poured all the liquid black iron onto the golden skeleton and continuously struck out the divine puppet technique seals. Shaping seal. A wave of chaotic energy flew out from Xiaoling Yu's fingertips and enveloped all the liquid black iron. Then, it surrounded the golden skeleton and began to shape its shape. Under the shaping seal, the new puppet gradually transformed into the appearance of a human cultivator. After a full 4 hours, the puppet's shape finally reached the final stage. However, it failed because of a small mistake by Xiaoling Yu. Although he had failed this time, he did not waste too many materials. Xiaoling Yu could remodel the puppet, and this was one of the advantages of the divine puppetry art. No matter how many times he failed, he would not waste too many materials. After more than 20 attempts, Xiaoling Yu finally completed the shaping of the puppet. Chapter 178. Awakening the spirit of a puppet was the most important and difficult part of refining a puppet. Xiaoling Yu had been studying the divine puppet technique for 5 whole years. However, he had only just begun enchanting this puppet and could not be said to have a deep understanding of it. In addition, Xiaoling Yu did not have any experience in enchanting a puppet. Therefore, this enchanting would probably fail many times. Fortunately, he could try again after a failed enchanting. Apart from being more strenuous and time-consuming, there were no other effects. Xiaoling Yu sat cross-legged and meditated for 3 days after he finished drawing all the runes on the puppet. When his mind was clear, he took a deep breath and began to enchant the first puppet he had crafted. Puppets didn't have any life. No matter how high-level a puppet was, as long as it was still called a puppet, it definitely didn't have any life. However, if one wanted to increase the puppet's battle prowess and combat skills without limit, and if one wanted to be able to control the puppet as one wished, then the puppet must have a certain level of consciousness. The process of making a puppet have a consciousness was called spirit awakening. However, any consciousness needed the support of soul energy. Without soul energy, it would be difficult for the puppet to have consciousness. There were 2 ways to enchanting a puppet and giving it a certain level of consciousness. The first way was for the cultivator to place some special soul materials on the puppet's body and then use them to form pure soul energy to control the puppet's entire body. Some combat skills and consciousness would also be deeply imprinted in the soul. The second way was for the cultivator to directly split a part of his soul energy to form an avatar and use his avatar to control the puppet's entire body. The advantage of the first way was that the puppet would not be affected by its master's condition. As long as there was energy to support it, it could continue to operate. However, in the process of battle, it would appear very mechanical and its adaptability would be very poor. The advantage of the second way was very obvious. The cultivator could communicate with the avatar and completely control the puppet's movements. The puppet could fight however it wanted. However, if the cultivator's condition was not good during battle or if he was directly injured, then the puppet's combat power would be greatly reduced. Both paths had their pros and cons, but overall, the second path was better than the first, especially for cultivators who were extremely confident. However, the second method was not suitable for the current Xiaoling Yu. He still needed all of his soul power to control his cultivation, so how could he split his attention to control a puppet that was not weaker than him? Therefore, after careful consideration, Xiaoling Yu chose the first option. After all, when her soul became stronger in the future, she could still enchant the puppet again. The dark steel puppet already had soul materials, so Shaolin Yu only needed to add some high-grade materials to refine it. However, during the refining process, Shaolin Yu also added some golden bone powder that she had scraped off from the golden skeleton with merciless divine sword. Only by allowing the soul of the new puppet to possess the attributes of the golden skeleton would the newly formed soul be able to control the golden skeleton. However, Shaolin Yu was not completely sure if the soul would possess the attributes of the golden skeleton after the golden bone powder was infused into the soul materials. This was completely an experiment. After the soul materials were properly processed, Shaolin Yu then began to engrave some of the Dharma spells that he knew into the soul to form a certain battle consciousness. Spiritual movement. When everything was ready, Shaolin Yu shouted loudly and formed a seal that entered the space between the eyebrows of the new puppet. Immediately, the soul of the puppet trembled and slowly condensed. After 10 minutes, Shaolin Yu once again inserted a wisp of his soul that was wrapped in blood essence into the soul of the puppet. The incantation sounded again, and the seal was continuously inserted into the puppet's head. Spiritual awakening. Another hour passed. Following Shaolin Yu's shout, the new puppet's body suddenly trembled a few times. Then, it slowly stood up and moved 2 steps. However, after taking 2 steps, the new puppet stood still again. No matter how Shaolin Yu ordered it, it was still the same. Shaolin Yu's smile froze on his face. He knew that his spiritual awakening had failed this time. However, Shaolin Yu could feel that the consciousness of the puppet had already formed. He only needed to try a few more times to succeed. Shaolin Yu repeated the spiritual awakening process more than 50 times before the puppet finally had a simple consciousness of the soul take control of its entire body. In other words, Shaolin Yu had successfully refined a puppet for the first time. This puppet's appearance was similar to a human cultivator, and its size was also the same. However, its entire body seemed to be cast from black iron and clearly did not have any signs of life. It looked more like an iron statue. Shaolin Yu brought the new puppet out of the secret room. Shaolin Yu began to familiarize himself with the puppet. As it was personally refined by Shaolin Yu, the familiarization process was very short. It only took 2 hours for Shaolin Yu to fully understand the puppet. Compared to the previous black iron puppet, the new puppet's speed was much faster. It should be comparable to a true ninth tribulation expert, and its body's defense was stronger than before. Because of the addition of the golden skeleton, its overall structure was more stable. As for its offensive power, it had more or less improved. A superior-grade immortal weapon that could not display its full power would probably shatter on the spot after a few punches from it. Shaolin Yu was very satisfied with his refinement this time. Although it took a long time, he gained a lot. The reason why the new puppet could improve was firstly because of the addition of the golden skeleton. Secondly, Shaolin Yu used the primordial fire to refine the black iron. Of course, there was also the guidance of the divine puppet technique. Just as Shaolin Yu was about to bring the new puppet back to the secret room, Linger, who had been away for more than 10 years, returned. After returning, Linger's appearance hadn't changed much. However, the clover-shaped mark on her forehead had changed from red to a more demonic purple. Her body, which already gave people a feeling of lightness and fluttering, was now even more elusive. Shaolin Yu's mind scanned her. Aside from a dazzling fluorescent light, he couldn't see anything else. It was obvious that Linger's strength had improved significantly after going to space and devouring countless illusory spirits. Not long after Linger's return, the Black Blood Demon Grand Elder Liu and the Tai Immortal Sect Grand Elder Gingjia came together. These two were originally sworn enemies in the cultivation world. It was a strange story in the cultivation world that they could come together. Since ancient times, immortals and demons could not coexist. When immortal cultivators saw demonic cultivators, they would always fight directly. However, for these two experts who were already at the top of the cultivation world, the difference between immortals and demons did not affect them at all. They were more concerned about benefits. You used us as cannon fodder. You took all the benefits and ran away. You have some guts, kid, but your arrogance knows no bounds, Liu said with a gloomy face. After searching for more than 10 years using various methods, Liu and Genjia's patience had long been worn out. Brat, leave behind all your belongings and we might spare your life. Genjia said coldly. Haha, a 9 tribulations powerhouse is indeed awe-inspiring. But if you guys think that I'm easy to bully, then you're gravely mistaken, Xiaoling Yu said with a smile, his expression unchanged. It's understandable that you're young and impetuous, but if you're too arrogant, then you'll die early. Liu didn't seem to have any intention of continuing with his nonsense. After saying this, he waved his sleeve and a demonic banner rapidly expanded in the air. In the blink of an eye, it completely enveloped the entire world and torrential demonic energy wreaked havoc in all directions. At the same time, an earth-shaking dragon's roar rang out. A black demonic dragon whose entire body seemed to be cast from black steel also circled around, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. In Liu's hand, there was a black iron bell engraved with mysterious runes. Seeing the black iron bell, Xiaoling Yu's eyes narrowed again. The relaxed smile at the corner of her mouth disappeared and was replaced by deep hatred. Liu, before we fight, I have a question to ask you. Xiaoling Yu didn't move at all. Instead, she shouted loudly. Such a big commotion naturally alarmed Gu Yunfei, who was in seclusion. He had already flown to Xiaoling Yu's side. Seeing that Xiaoling Yu wasn't moved by the mighty aura he created, Liu was also very curious. He didn't know how the other party could be so calm in the face of 2 9 tribulation rankers. Therefore, he didn't attack and said, "What's the question? Have you ever been to Earth in the past few years?" Xiaoling Yu asked directly. Earth? Gengjia frowned slightly and looked at Liu meaningfully. Why should this old man answer this question of yours? Liu snorted coldly and replied. It doesn't matter if you don't answer. To tell you the truth, I came from Earth. I was lucky not to die from the doomsday you brought to Earth. I was even more fortunate to have seen your skills. Your demonic banner, demonic dragon, and iron bell are enough to prove that you are that person, Xiaoling Yu said coldly. So what if you've been there? Liu didn't deny it and asked back. Do you know that because of you, countless lives on Earth were destroyed? Xiaoling Yu questioned. I've never considered those ants when I do things. Although Earth is a little special and the people on Earth used to be very strong in the cultivation world, it doesn't mean that their descendants should enjoy preferential treatment in front of me, Liu said nonchalantly. I didn't expect that Brother Li would find Earth after it disappeared from the cultivation world for so many years. I wonder what benefits Brother Li gained from your trip to Earth. Gengjia also interjected with a strange tone at this time. Other than a fierce battle, I didn't gain anything. I only came to Earth by accident because I was chasing a fire phoenix who had a grudge against me. There's a sun next to Earth. After the fire phoenix was injured by me, it hid in the sun to absorb the sun's true fire to recuperate. I only found out later that the life planet that no longer had any cultivators was the legendary Earth. Liu shook his head and replied. Even for a demonic cultivator, easily harming all the lives on a life planet because of a battle would also be criticized by all the cultivators in the cultivation world. However, as a demonic cultivator and a top existence in the cultivation world, Liu naturally didn't have such scruples. Chapter 179. Just you? Liu's lips curled into a contemptuous smile. This was the first time in so many years that a junior dared to speak to him like this. As the publicly acknowledged #1 expert in the cultivation world, he had been proud for too many years. Even those 9 tribulations experts had never dared to be arrogant in front of him. Me too. Gu Yunfei answered without fear, and the mystical pearl floated out of his palm. Liu and Gengjia were very wary of this pearl. Even though they had been imprisoned twice by the white light released by the pearl, that kind of imprisonment was complete imprisonment. They could not move at all under the white light, and this feeling was very uncomfortable for top experts like them. Linger did not speak, but her seemingly delicate body was already surging with fighting spirit. At this moment, Liu and Gengjia suddenly realized that the other party was not easy to bully. The other party dared to use a Nine Tribulations expert as a tool, so it was not without backing. However, even though the other party's lineup seemed strong, Liu and Gingjiao were not afraid. After all, it was common knowledge in the cultivation world for many years that the Nine Tribulations were the strongest. The ignorant are truly fearless. Liu snorted coldly, and then the iron bell in his hand suddenly expanded and smashed towards Xiaoling Yu. Gingjia did not sit still and watch. He opened his mouth and spat out a ray of light. The ray of light expanded with the wind, and in a flash, it turned into a magic treasure shaped like a shovel. It flew towards Xiaoling Yu at high speed. 6 demon-suppressing immoral pearls flew out at high speed and all of them blasted towards the iron bell. The puppet also rushed to the front, and its iron fist smashed towards the shovel. In an instant, an earth-shattering explosion sounded, and waves of aura and shock waves flattened all the surrounding mountains in an instant. The iron bell was also an extremely high-quality demonic equipment, but it was not as high quality as the 6 demon-suppressing immoral orbs, so it was directly sent flying back. The iron shovel was also blocked by the puppet, and the two immediately separated after coming into contact, each retreating a few hundred meters. As for the demonic dragon, it had just pounced over when it was enveloped by a cloud of mist that Linger casually shot out. Then, it circled around in the same place and roared angrily as if it had lost its soul. Xiaoling Yu felt that the cloud looked familiar. After sensing it carefully, she realized that the cloud was actually the psychedelic nebula, and it was even more elusive than the psychedelic nebula. Linger had most likely learned this cloud and mist ability during his years in space. However, its power was astonishing. Even the mutant demon dragon, which was obviously not weak, was trapped. In the first tentative, peaceful, exchange, neither side gained the upper hand. However, it was clear that Xiaoling Yu's side had the upper hand. "If that's all you've got, how dare you covet my wealth?" Xiaoling Yu asked disdainfully. "This is just the beginning. Don't be too happy yet. Move the demonic banner, evil wind." The corner of Liu's mouth twitched a few times. Then, he shot a seal into the demonic banner that covered the sky above his head. Suddenly, gusts of evil wind appeared out of nowhere and blew away the nebula that Linger had shot out in an instant. Not only did the chilly wind with the baleful qi blow away the nebula, it also swept towards Xiaoling Yu and the other two. However, when the evil wind encountered the sacred light and aura released by the 6 demon-suppressing immoral orbs, it directly dissipated into nothingness and could not get close to Xiaoling Yu. The pearl that floated in Yunfei's hand also released a white light that could ignore the evil wind and evil wind. As for Linger, at this moment, her body was constantly changing from illusory to corporeal. The baleful aura and cold wind directly swept past her body, but they were unable to make her clothes flutter, let alone hurt her body. Seeing that the evil wind and evil wind were not a threat to Xiaoling Yu and the other two at all, Liu's face darkened even more. After a while, he muttered an incantation, "Black wind whirl, demonic blood appear, black blood seal." After the incantation ended, a couple of black swirls appeared within the heaven-covering demonic banner. Waves of nauseating bloody stench spread like floodwaters. Xiaoling Yu had experienced the power of the black blood seal, so he shouted, "Puppet, charge!" Under Xiaoling Yu's command, the puppet flew towards the demonic banner in the air like an arrow released from a bow. "Get down from there!" Liu roared, and a black palm print shot out from the whirlpools towards the puppet. However, to Liu's surprise, the black blood palm passed right through the puppet's body. The puppet's speed was only slightly reduced, but it still continued to charge forward. At this moment, Liu suddenly remembered that the black blood seal was only lethal to living things. It had limited effect on things that were completely made of hard special materials. Then, Liu directed the demonic banner to hit Xiaoling Yu and the other two at the same time, shouting, "Brother Gingjia, are you going to keep watching like this?" Of course not." Gingjia laughed dryly, and then controlled a shovel-shaped fairy weapon to attack Xiaoling Yu again. However, he knew that if he continued to be perfunctory, it would be difficult for Liu to defeat the opponent alone. Therefore, he made up his mind and his hands began to form seals rapidly. The black blood seal kept falling, and Xiaoling Yu used the 6 demon-suppressing immoral orbs to block it. Occasionally, he would use the Seal of Chaos to counterattack. Linger did not use any powerful magic to block it, but her body that could constantly turn into an illusion could not be locked on by any attack. Gu Yunfei hid beside Xiaoling Yu, and was also unafraid of the black blood seal's attack. The puppet rushed into the sky and was about to reach the demonic banner, but it was stopped by the demonic dragon. However, although the demonic dragon was strong, it was still no match for the puppet. The puppet's fists were harder than steel, and every time it was hit, it would cry out in pain. This Liu was indeed worthy of being called the most powerful person in the cultivation world. Xiaoling Yu, Linger, and the puppet's strength were far beyond the 8 tribulations, and were not much weaker than ordinary 9 tribulations. However, even when they joined forces, they were still suppressed by Liu alone. This showed that Liu's strength was indeed very powerful. Gu Yunfei didn't make a move, because even now, he had a better understanding of the pearl in his hand, but the only divine ability he could use was the one that imprisoned others. However, this kind of imprisonment divine ability could only be used once, and after imprisoning the other party, no one could attack the other party. Unless it was the last moment, it was better not to use this divine ability. Xiaoling Yu also wanted to test the strength of Liu and Gingjia, so he advised Gu Yunfei to wait. Just as the situation reached a stalemate, dark clouds suddenly gathered in the sky. Thunderous roars shook the heavens and the earth, causing people to tremble in fear. Crack! A golden thunderbolt zigzagged down. Xiaoling Yu had just repelled Gingjia's shovel when this thunderbolt struck his head. His whole body immediately felt sore and numb, but this level of thunderbolt was not enough to hurt him. After a while, he recovered. However, one thunderbolt after another fell from the dark sky, and all of them were aimed at him. Tai Thunder Attraction Technique. Xiaoling Yu looked at the thunderbolts falling from the sky, and he could not help but be shocked. If it was only the Black Blood Devil Seal, Xiaoling Yu would still be able to calmly block it, but with the addition of the Tai Lightning Attraction Technique, it was different. Although the lightning could not harm him, it would cause his body to be paralyzed for a while, and although this period of time was not long, it would affect his control of the demon-suppressing immortal orb, causing his impenetrable defense to loosen. Fortunately, the puppet had already injured Liu's demonic dragon. Under Xiaoling Yu's command, it drew a large amount of immortal spiritual power from the immortal crystals and activated the primal chaos seal. The demonic banner that covered the sky shrank for a while, and the vortexes formed by the demonic banner dissipated at the same time. At this time, countless phantom spirits flew out from Linger's body. They brought with them a psychedelic nebula, and in an instant, they drowned the dark clouds in the sky. They used a method of mutual destruction to dissolve Gengjia's Tai Thunder Attraction Technique. At this point in the battle, Xiaoling Yu was clear about one point. Although he could deal with 2 Ninth Tribulation experts at the same time, he did not have the ability to fight back at all. He could only passively defend. In the past, Xiaoling Yu relied on his powerful magic treasures to challenge those of a higher level. However, when the other party also had powerful magic treasures and powerful spells, his advantage was not very useful. There was no point in continuing the battle. Xiaoling Yu had already used all kinds of methods, and the other party seemed to have a lot of energy left. It was not easy to deal with 2 Ninth Tribulation experts working together. At this moment, Xiaoling Yu gave Gu Yunfei some instructions. Gu Yunfei, who had been waiting for a long time, channeled all his power into his palm. Then, the pearl shone with 2 dazzling rays of light, enveloping Gingjia and Liu in an instant. Immediately, the 2 Ninth Tribulation experts who were casting spells with all their might were imprisoned on the spot. Xiaoling Yu and the others took this opportunity to escape far away. Not long after they left, foreign race experts from the Longyuan continent rushed over. The commotion here was too big. It was impossible to not attract the attention of the foreign race experts. It was also because of this concern that Xiaoling Yu decided to leave first after such a short time. Because Gingjia and Liu were enveloped in white light, their strength could not be seen through by the foreign race experts. Moreover, the foreign race experts did not like human cultivators entering their territory, so they attacked them directly. Although the white light was powerful, it would dissipate if it was attacked by too strong an external force. Gengjia and Liu quickly regained their freedom. Liu was furious. In a fit of anger, he waved his hand and killed the foreign race experts who came to check on them. The strongest of the foreign race experts was only comparable to a 6th tribulation expert. In front of a 9th tribulation expert, they were no different from ants. "Oh, brotherly, how could you kill these foreign race cultivators? This will bring us a lot of trouble," Gengjia complained. Chapter 180. Where should we go now? Yunfei asked after Xiaoling Yu had led everyone on the run for a few days. "Let's stay in the Langhuan continent for a while longer. I know of a wonderful place here." "Since we're already here, it's not right not to take a look," Xiaoling Yu replied casually. "You've been to the Langhuan continent before?" Yunfei asked in surprise. "No," Xiaoling Yu shook his head and replied. "Since you've never been here before, how do you know what's so special about this place?" Yunfei asked in confusion. Of course, it's from the ancient records left behind by our predecessors." Xiaoling Yu laughed dryly. It wasn't that he wanted to deceive Yunfei, but he really didn't want to tell him about Jianhuanyue. After all, this had nothing to do with Yunfei. "Since there's something special about this place, of course we should go and take a look. However, the experts of the foreign races in the Langhuan continent don't like us human cultivators. If they discover us and attack us together, we'll be in big trouble. After all, there are 2 9 tribulations experts chasing after us." Yunfei said worriedly. "Brother, don't worry. The place I'm going to is so wonderful that even a 9 tribulations expert would be defeated. Moreover, the experts of the foreign races in the Langhuan continent may not know about this place. Even if they did, they wouldn't dare to go in," Xiaoling Yu replied casually. "As long as you're confident." Yunfei nodded and didn't say anything else. After traveling for a few more days, they still hadn't reached the place Xiaoling Yu was talking about. However, he already felt that there were experts of the foreign races following them. However, the experts of the foreign races who were following them were very good at concealing themselves. Even Xiaoling Yu couldn't sense their exact location. However, he could feel that there were a few invisible eyes staring at the 3 of them. Xiaoling Yu didn't act rashly and acted as if he didn't discover anything. He continued to travel. After about a month, he stopped in the air above a large canyon. This canyon was about 100,000 feet wide. Even in the cultivation world, such a wide canyon was rare. Within the canyon, there was a surging river. Occasionally, huge aquatic beasts would jump out of the water. "Brother, is this the place you were talking about?" Yunfei asked when he saw Xiaoling Yu stop. "That's right. However, the place is hidden at the bottom of the canyon. I don't know its exact location. We still need to go down and search." After Xiaoling Yu replied, he took the lead and jumped down. When he was about to enter the water, a ring of chaotic light enveloped his entire body, and the river water automatically parted, not daring to approach him. The canyon was extremely deep. From the surface of the water to the bottom, it was actually 100,000 feet long. Less than 10 breaths after the 3 of them fell into the water, 2 strange-looking cultivators appeared under a large tree. However, their bodies were like flickering shadows, and they didn't seem to be real at all. Instead, they seemed more like distant projections. "What are they doing here?" one of the illusory cultivators asked with a belly full of doubts. "Who knows? I don't remember this place being a secret. However, they are not weak. Moreover, they are human experts. They definitely didn't come here for sightseeing. I'm afraid there's really something going on below the canyon." The other illusory cultivator narrowed his eyes and said, "If that's the case, we'd better send the news back quickly and let the elders of the clan come and take a look." One of the illusory cultivators said as he took out a shell-shaped magic treasure and chanted a few words to it. Then, the 2 illusory cultivators faded again until they disappeared. Not long after, the Black Blood Demon Great Elder Liu and the Tai Immortal Sex Great Elder Gingjia also came to the side of the canyon together. The Black Blood Demon Great Elder narrowed his eyes and sensed for a moment. Then, he said with certainty, "That kid is nearby." Gingjia was about to answer when his face suddenly darkened. He shot a beam of immortal light toward a tree not far away. He shouted, "Who is spying here? Show yourself." The immortal light instantly wrapped around the tree and then disappeared with the tree. The two illusory cultivators appeared with pale faces and blood spurting out of their mouths. Shaolin Yu's soul realm was not very high. She could sense the existence of the two illusory cultivators, but she couldn't pinpoint their exact location. However, the ninth tribulation cultivator Gingjia could pinpoint their exact location. They seemed to be from the Phantom Clan. Liu glanced at them and said, "Humph. The two of you have guts. You actually dare to peep here? Are you courting death?" Gingjia questioned coldly. "Seniors, please forgive us. We didn't mean to spy on you. We were ordered to wait here by the elders of our clan." One of the illusory cultivators braced himself and replied. At this time, he could already confirm that these two human cultivators were very powerful. "So, the elders of your clan will be here soon?" Liu asked. "Seniors, we noticed 3 cultivators of unknown origins coming here, so we followed them. We didn't expect them to stop here and then fall into the canyon water. They haven't left since." The injured illusory cultivator seemed to answer honestly. "Are they?" Liu simulated the appearance of Shaolin Yu and the other two and asked. "Yes, they are." "Seniors, do you know them?" The illusory cultivator nodded after seeing them clearly. "Yes, of course," Gingjia said with a strange tone. Liu then shot out 2 streaks of black light and jumped into the canyon water. The 2 streaks of black light were like 2 poisonous snakes. No matter how hard the 2 illusory cultivators tried to dodge, they couldn't avoid them. The black light instantly rushed into the illusory cultivators' bodies. Then, the 2 illusory cultivators' faces distorted. They didn't even have time to cry out before they were turned into nothingness by the black light. The black light then dissipated. Gingjia shook his head helplessly and also chased after Liu into the canyon water. "Brotherly, why did you kill those 2 Phantom Clan cultivators?" Gingjia asked with a bit of displeasure. "Didn't they say just now that the experts of their clan are coming here?" "The experts of their clan only know that the brat is here and that the 2 illusory cultivators are following him. They don't know about our existence or when we'll be here. The experts of the Phantom Clan don't know that we killed their disciples. Naturally, they have to blame the brat," Liu said with a smile. Gingjia knew that the demon cultivators didn't need a reason to kill. This time, Liu gave him a reason, so he didn't dwell on this issue. "What is that brat doing here? If there's something special here, how can those foreign clans not discover it?" Gingjia asked curiously as he followed Liu to search under the water. "That brat has too many secrets. You have to know that he came from Earth. He probably received guidance from some expert or received some inheritance." Liu guessed. "That's true. That brat's strength isn't very strong, but he has a lot of powerful magic treasures. Also, through the information collected through various channels, he seems to have been to many places where treasures are hidden. Every time, he would be able to obtain the most benefits and escape unscathed. It's as if he has been familiar with those places for a long time," Gingjia said with some admiration. "If I were him, I would find a place where no one can find me and hide after obtaining some benefits. I wouldn't run around like him. He's so arrogant that he even dares to deceive me. I can't let him live in this world," Liu said with hatred. "Ha, Brotherly hates him so much. I'm afraid it's not because he deceived you, but because of some other reason?" Gingjia said with a strange smile. "Brother Gingjia, what other reason do you think there is?" Liu suddenly stopped and looked at Gingjia with narrowed eyes and asked. Gingjia was also a 9 tribulations expert and the great elder of a top force. Naturally, he was not afraid of Liu's aura. he said with a smile. Brotherly went to Earth and destroyed it. That brat is from Earth, so he must hate Brotherly to the core. Brotherly, you're afraid that he will find trouble with you when he becomes stronger in the future. Ha, what a joke. In this cultivation world, what do I have to fear? Chapter 181. At the end of the cave was a very straight wall, and on the wall, there was only a very simple camouflage restriction that could confuse one's vision. As long as one's cultivation reached the great vehicle stage, one would be able to feel the restriction above, and also be able to see that the wall was not real. Such a camouflage restriction was nothing to Nine Tribulations experts like Gingjia and Liu. When the two arrived here, they only paused for a moment, and then directly walked towards the wall. Their bodies passed through the wall very easily. Behind the wall, there was a boundless and very desolate world. This was not an independent space opened up by a cultivator with great magic power, but a side of the world buried deep under the canyon that no one cared about. As soon as the two Nine Tribulations experts entered, they could feel a strong and somewhat dead aura rushing towards them. And these auras did not feel like they were left by the experts of the human clan, but the aura of the divine beasts of the demon clan. Let's see if we can get out first. Gingjia was very careful. After entering, he turned around. What made him and Liu feel a little relieved was that they easily left this somewhat frightening world and returned to the front of the wall of the cave. Since they could come and go freely, the two Nine Tribulations experts had nothing to worry about. At once, they passed through the false wall and entered the desolate world. Then, they moved forward carefully and continued to search for the traces of Xiaolingyu and the others. Xiaolingyu and the other two were indeed in this desolate world at this time, and they had already gone deep into it. This desolate world was very wide, and the aura inside was very heterogeneous. There were also many powerful auras of the demon clan surging inside. Even if a Nine Tribulations expert came here, he would not be able to use his immortal senses to search this place in a large area. Moreover, a Nine Tribulations expert who did not know anything about this place would not dare to release his immortal senses easily when he felt the powerful auras inside. Anyone who came here would feel that there were countless dangers hidden here, and they had to be careful. In this desolate world, huge corpses of demonic beasts could be seen everywhere. If one wandered around here for a while, they would be shocked to find that there were corpses of true dragons here, as well as many corpses of the demon clan that belonged to the superior bloodline. The most shocking thing was that almost none of the corpses left behind by the experts of the demon clan were intact. No matter how one looked at it, they seemed to have been ruthlessly killed here. Moreover, the potholes that could be seen everywhere seemed to prove to everyone that there had been an earth-shattering battle here, and countless experts had fallen here. The images of Gingjia and Liu slowly appeared in the image, but then the images of Xiaolingyu and the other two also appeared, but their images were a little blurry. They were the ones who killed Shadowless and Traceless, but the time interval between their appearances was not very long, so we can't determine who killed Shadowless and Traceless. The elder waved his sleeve again to disperse the image, then shook his head and said, "Anyway, it's just a few of them." "Just kill them all," a younger Phantom Clan practitioner said. "These people's cultivation is not weak." "I'm afraid our clan alone can't win," the elder Phantom Clan practitioner said noncommittally. "Then we're not going to avenge Shadowless and Traceless?" the younger Phantom Clan practitioner asked. "Of course we have to avenge them. Any practitioner who kills a Phantom Clan disciple will have to pay a heavy price, even their Ninth Tribulation experts are no exception. However, with so many human experts invading the Nephrite world, this is a big matter for the Nephrite world, not just us, so it's better to invite everyone here." The elder Phantom Clan practitioner was calmer. After he finished speaking with a cold smile, he took out a purple shell-shaped magic treasure and began to chant into it. "The message has been sent out. We just have to wait here and wait for the experts of the other clans to gather." After the elder Phantom Clan practitioner said this, his body turned into nothingness. In the desolate world deep under the canyon, Xiaolingyu and the other two were all wearing leather armor that smelled of decay as they slowly climbed up a mountain. Originally, for cultivators of Shaolin Yu and the other two's cultivation, this kind of mountain could be reached in an instant. However, Shaolin Yu and the other two could clearly feel that there were several abnormally powerful ferocious demons near the mountain. If they were not careful, they could be discovered even though they were wearing rotten leather armor. The reason why they had to climb this mountain was because Jiang Lanyu had once told Shaolin Yu that there was a pool at the top of this mountain, and in the pool was the corpse of a super divine beast, the five-clawed golden dragon. The powerful ferocious demons near the mountain were guarding the five-clawed golden dragon's corpse. The reason Shaolin Yu wanted to come here was because of the five-clawed golden dragon's corpse. Originally, they could have reached the top of the mountain in an instant, but Shaolin Yu and the other twos concealed their auras and moved slowly. It actually took them a full 16 hours to reach the top of the mountain. The temperature at the top of the mountain was extremely low. Shaolin Yu and the other two did not dare to release their auras, nor did they dare to set up a defensive barrier around their bodies. They did not even dare to circulate their cultivation too quickly, so they could only rely on their own bodies to resist the erosion of the cold. It was also because of this cold pool that the five-clawed golden dragon's corpse did not decay due to the erosion of time. This cold pool was circular in shape and had a diameter of about 100,000 feet. It looked like a small lake. The surface of the cold pool was covered with a thick layer of ice, and the ice was emitting spirals of mist. To enter the cold pool, we need to break open this layer of ice. If we forcefully attack it, it will definitely create a huge commotion. I'm afraid that it will alarm those ferocious demons, Gu Yunfei said while stroking his chin. Then there's no other way. We can only forcefully take it. Those ferocious demons don't have strong sensing abilities. Linger can use the hallucinatory nebula to block them. Big brother, you can put on the invisibility cloak and block them for a while. You just need to buy me 100 breaths of time, Shaolin Yu said after thinking for a while. That's the only way. Gu Yunfei nodded in response. Linger did not say anything, and Shaolin Yu did not have any intention of asking her. He immediately let the 6 demon-suppressing immortal orbs attack the layer of ice. What surprised Shaolin Yu was that even with the attack power of a supreme-grade immortal artifact, he was unable to break open the layer of ice. Moreover, a single attack could only cause small cracks to appear on the layer of ice. The commotion here had already attracted the ferocious demons' attention. Under the lead of a few very strong ferocious demons, they pounced towards the cold pool. Shaolin Yu knew that he could not delay any longer. The overall strength of those few strong ferocious souls was probably not much weaker than a 9 tribulations expert. He could only seize the time. He immediately took out the merciless divine sword and slashed at the layer of ice with the power of a divine artifact. Although the layer of ice was sturdy, under the attack of the merciless divine sword, it directly cracked open a large hole. Shaolin Yu did not hesitate at all. He wrapped his body with the primal chaos true fire to resist the low temperature, and then jumped into the cold pool. When those ferocious demons attacked, Gu Yunfei's body disappeared. Those ferocious demons with weak sensing abilities all pounced towards Linger. Linger gently waved her sleeve, and a large area of the hallucinatory nebula immediately enveloped the entire mountain peak. Those ferocious demons were like headless flies, but then they all let out screeching sounds that made one's teeth ache. More and more ferocious souls came from all directions. Chapter 182. Shaolin Yu had originally planned to come down and wrap the corpse of the 5-clawed golden dragon with his mind and store it in his storage Dharma treasure. Unfortunately, the water in the cold pool was not only cold, but it also greatly restricted a cultivator's soul power. The soul power he released could not form his mind at all. However, Shaolin Yu did not think of another way. Instead, he used the merciless sword in his hand to stab the 5-clawed golden dragon's abdomen, wanting to extract some of its blood. What Shaolin Yu did not expect, and what Jiang Lanyu did not warn him before, was that although the merciless sword could pierce through the scales of the 5-clawed golden dragon, before Shaolin Yu could pull it out and see any dragon blood flowing out, he felt the pool water shake violently. Then, a deafening dragon roar reverberated in the pool water. Xiaolingyu was shocked. He immediately pulled back the merciless sword and hurriedly retreated towards the crack in the ice layer. A vast and vigorous dragon's aura chased after Xiaolingyu. Before Xiaolingyu could fly above the ice layer, his body was completely enveloped by the dragon's aura, and he could not move at all. This dragon's aura was too strong. Not only did it far exceed the aura of a ninth tribulation expert, but it was also clearly not something that a cultivator in the cultivation world could display. It was obvious that this five-clawed golden dragon already had the power to transcend the cultivation world when it was alive. It just died here by accident. Even if it was dead, its body was not something that anyone could casually touch. What made Xiaolingyu feel slightly relieved was that although he was trapped by the dragon's aura, he was not attacked. The corpse of the five-clawed golden dragon was still lying there quietly, but the wound on its abdomen was still bleeding golden dragon blood. However, the dragon's roar just now had reverberated throughout the entire desolate world. Originally, countless ferocious demons had gathered here. After the dragon's roar, almost all the demons in the desolate world flew over, including those that were attacking Gingjia and Liu. It was as if the demons here had heard the summons of their king. The dragon's roar not only reverberated in the desolate world deep in the canyon, but even the Phantom Clan experts beside the canyon heard it. Their expressions changed abruptly. In many hidden places in the Nephrite world, the demon experts were also startled awake at this moment. They all looked towards the canyon, then leaped up and flew at full speed towards the canyon. Xiaolingyu did not know that stabbing the five-clawed golden dragon's corpse would bring him a lot of trouble. However, the current situation was already enough to give him a headache. He did not know when this dragon's aura would dissipate. He was in such a dangerous place, but he could not move at all. Above the ice, Linger was able to control the situation with the psychedelic nebula in the beginning. She made it impossible for the ghosts to get close, but as the number of ghosts increased, they were like a raging tide. She gradually couldn't hold on. Didn't you say that 100 breaths of time is enough? It's already been 100 breaths. Why hasn't he come out yet? Yunfei, who was wearing the invisibility cloak and did not feel much pressure, was also a little anxious. Not long after, Gingjia and Liu followed the ferocious demons to the mountain where the cold pond was located. However, because there were too many ferocious demons gathered around, they did not dare to approach recklessly. Something must be happening over there. Gingjia narrowed his eyes and said as he looked at the mountain top. Maybe they're over there. Liu nodded in agreement. Should we go over and take a look? Gingjia asked. Liu thought for a moment and said, let's not go over there first. Even if they're really over there, I'm afraid they'll die after being attacked by so many monsters. We've all experienced how powerful these monsters are. Even if we want to go over, it will take a lot of effort. After all, these monsters will not voluntarily give way to us. But what if they're trying to get some treasure over there? Once they get it, how will they be able to escape? If we go over now, it might be the best time to capture and kill them. Gingjia raised a different opinion. Hearing this, Liu's thoughts turned. Since the other party had come here, they would not have come here for nothing. There must be something they wanted here. Moreover, this place was so dangerous. They must have taken the risk to come here for something big. Thinking of this, Liu narrowed his eyes and said resolutely, then let's go over and take a look. But this time, I hope Brother Gingjia will not hold back anymore. Show us what you've got. This might be our last chance. Brother Li, don't worry. I'll do my best this time. Gingjia said very sincerely. After receiving Gingjia's reply, Liu's face darkened. He waved his hand and threw out the sky-covering demonic banner. The black iron bell also floated above his head. Gingjia was indeed going to use his powerful means. He first used his shovel-like magic treasure to open a path for him. Then, for the first time, he used his 6 golden saber-like magic treasures. Just as Gingjia and Liu were charging toward the cold pond at the top of the mountain, streams of light flew toward the canyon from all directions. They all stopped beside the Phantom Clan powerhouses. Human experts have infiltrated this place. There should be ninth tribulation experts among them. Please follow me down and expel them from the Nephrite world. The elder from the Phantom clan explained in a loud voice. Then, he led the experts of various clans into the canyon. As soon as the powerhouses entered the water, several demon clan powerhouses also arrived. One of them, a middle-aged practitioner wearing a golden soft armor, narrowed his eyes and said, "This is the place. We've been searching for the Nephrite world for so many years. I didn't expect that the Dragon King's real body would be hiding here. This matter concerns the long-term development of the entire demon clan. I hope that everyone can work together. Don't think that this is just a matter of us dragons. Don't worry, Brother Ao. We usually quarrel with each other and fight openly and covertly, but at this critical moment, we won't have any disloyalty." A beautiful middle-aged woman in a fiery red dress said solemnly with a strange light in her phoenix eyes. "Let's not dawdle. We don't know what's going on down there. It's better to hurry and take a look." A brawny practitioner with red hair and a red beard said impatiently. Then, he jumped into the canyon. And at this time, although Shaolin Yu could already move freely, Linger was already unable to resist the flood of evil spirits. He had no choice but to go up to the ice layer first, and use the divine aura of the 6 demon-suppressing immortal orbs to deter those evil spirits that were obviously of the evil attribute. Gu Yunfei was still wearing the invisibility cloak. If the invisibility cloak was in an empty space, it wouldn't be detected by the evil spirits. However, there were too many of them here. There was no empty space. Even if the evil spirits couldn't see him, they gradually discovered his existence. He had no choice but to hide by Shaolin Yu's side. "Linger, go into the water." After Shaolin Yu provided support, he once again fell into the crack in the ice layer. Linger also landed and used a psychedelic nebula to fill up the entire crack, preventing the weaker evil spirits from chasing after them. Shaolin Yu didn't dawdle. She immediately took out a large jade bottle and began to collect the golden dragon blood that flowed out of the 5-clawed golden dragon's wound. Since he was unable to take away the entire 5-clawed golden dragon's corpse, Shaolin Yu naturally wouldn't waste this opportunity. After collecting a few large bottles of dragon blood, he used the unforgivable divine sword to cut off a few large pieces of dragon scales. To a dragon's scales, the most precious piece was at their neck. Moreover, this piece was different from other scales. Everyone called it the reverse scale. A dragon had a reverse scale that would anger anyone who touched it. However, this was only true for living dragons. The dead dragon in front of them wouldn't. Even though Shaolin Yu directly pried off its reverse scale, it didn't react at all. However, when he pried off this reverse scale, Shaolin Yu was a little absent-minded because this reverse scale looked very familiar. After thinking about it for a moment, he was surprised to find that the metal-like treasure that he and Anya dug out from the Black Dragon tomb was actually exactly the same as this 5-clawed golden dragon's reverse scale. There was no time for Shaolin Yu to compare. After putting away the reverse scale, Shaolin Yu made up his mind and decided to go all the way. He might as well take the dragon pearl as well. Shaolin Yu's purpose for coming here was to obtain the corpse of the 5-clawed golden dragon. Now that he had only taken a few bottles of dragon blood and a few dragon scales, it wouldn't be too much to take the dragon pearl. At least, it didn't reach his goal. Therefore, Shaolin Yu quickly moved to the dragon's head and used Merciless Sword to slash at it. However, Shaolin Yu's consciousness couldn't wrap around the dragon pearl that was like a golden sun, and he couldn't put it away. If he couldn't put it away, it would be very difficult to take it away. Shaolin Yu thought about it and directly released the Serpent Devourer of Heaven. After the Serpent Devourer of Heaven came out, it originally thought that it was going to fight. However, after sensing the aura of the noble 5-clawed golden dragon, it immediately shrank back and trembled. "Look at your useless appearance. Hurry up and swallow this dragon pearl into your stomach." Shaolin Yu fiercely slapped the serpent's head and reminded it in a bad mood. Only then did the serpent understand the situation. It was a little excited and a little nervous as it opened its mouth and swallowed the dragon pearl. Okay, we can call it a day. Only then was Xiaoling Yu satisfied. After inviting the serpent back into the spirit beast bag, he led Linger and Gu Yunfei to move to the ice layer. Just as Xiaoling Yu and the other two jumped to the surface of the ice layer, Bingjia and Liu used powerful magic treasures and magical powers to kill their way to the side of the cold pool. When they saw Xiaoling Yu and the other two, they immediately urged their magic treasures to attack. Xiaoling Yu had no interest in continuing the fight with the two ninth tribulation experts. He directly ordered Linger to release waves of illusory nebula to hide the three of them. Then, the three of them quickly hacked at the leather armor that emitted a strong rotten smell and death aura. Under the cover of the illusory nebula, they blinded the perception of the ominous spirits and fled down the mountain. Bingjia and Liu couldn't penetrate the illusory nebula and lock onto Xiaoling Yu and the other two under such circumstances. Their attacks were naturally ineffective. They wanted to chase in the direction of the illusory nebula, but they were blocked by countless ominous spirits and couldn't move at full speed. Linger, put away the illusory nebula. Xiaoling Yu ordered. When the illusory nebula also dissipated, the two ninth tribulation experts gradually lost their target. The ominous spirits like a tide made them very busy. You're tuning into the Mythic Realms YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.